Come on. Homie. Who do you think we got?
On our way to the top, you can't take this from me. We gon' make this money. Yeah, yeah. Running around these streets non-stop, trying to make this guap. On our way to the top, you can't take
1 2 1 2.
We gon' keep on grinding.
Look, the devil in the church, while God in the trap. They tugging on my ankles like nigga get back. That's what you call crabs. I swear we all have
someone that hates first, next day on your ball bags. When big shit poppin', then little shit stop it. So when they come to hate me, no watch it. You got a God King in the cockpit. You lock the door while I locked it. In the coop with the beard. Proof I'm the truth, cause poof, there he is. Kizzy calm, you ain't gotta ask, is he bomb? You can feel my atoms, I'm the son of Adam.
There he is.
Original man, young black Vitruvian man. Waking up, what's your dream? Believe it, you can. Fresh and hungry, never looking bummy. On my grind, you can't take this from me. Rah.
You see how we do it?
You know that.
You see how we do it?
That's
We're like that, boy. You
Yeah.
see him there? Huh? Working with Jesse. Huh? Who does it better than Fresh? Honest.
Yo, Fresh is live right now. Shout out to you, y'all. More representing people for real.
No. Yeah. Big tune, you know.
gotta remain humble.
Big
When
tune.
I had no food,
I'm
no
thankful
never
that
had
my boy Randy invited me to even be a part of this one. Man. Trust me, it took a year to make this come out like that.
Serious.
Yeah, because the guy was green behind the camera. You know what I mean? So he picked up a camera, learned it, done this. Well, hit me up, was like, you don't got an idea for a song, got an 8-track beat. So as soon as I already had an 8-track beat, I'm game. That's my guy. You know what I mean? So
And I thought you led the project. I was like,
No,
no,
boy.
this wasn't your lead project.
no, boy, this was my boy Randy. Shout out to Aberford Digital. You know what I mean? He brought the community together for this one year. And you know, when it's all said and done, when the community comes together and does something positive with the youths, especially, it looks like that. It looks hot. You know, you wouldn't even be able to tell like he just learned video editing and everything. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm a shout out to Mac Dope HD. You know what I mean? It's behind the editing as well, like sharpening them up. And I just got to just do a hot verse. You know what I mean? That's what I love. I just
And
got
you
to be an
open it
artist.
too, though, but you
Yeah.
know, usually guys don't get to open it like that. You
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
chance to open it, done.
Yeah, the strategy was like, yeah, you see Calm, you hear Calm, and then, you know, you will want to listen more. First, you see Jassy, because Jassy's older. Jassy's a big name in the community. Then you see Calm. Calm's always spitting for the people and spitting something hot. So it's like, you know, it makes you listen, and then at the end we got Boxhead. You know, I think this might be one of his fresh tracks. I'm not sure, but you know, it leads into him. So now you got to hear what a local celebrity in the sporting arena does, because Boxhead's big in football and all that deal. You know what I mean?
Oh boy.
You know that.
Boy. You know.
I'm looking good too. That they see me right there,
Yeah.
not just right there.
Not just.
Okay, cool, cool.
We see you everywhere.
So you got to see my sneakers. I picked the right
I
sneakers
do-
today.
I do that. I do this.
Okay.
You know, I
One man band man, one man production team.
Yo.
Hats off, look,
Lord,
hats
it's
off.
in this.
Got a haircut. I got a haircut for you yesterday. Yeah, I ain't had a haircut in a week.
Oh boy.
2 weeks. Trust me, we go back like my hairline when I don't have a haircut. Trust me.
Boy. Oh boy.
So let's do this. Let's do it. Like,
I'm telling you, man.
you know, I'm here always for the people representing. You know what I mean?
What you mean? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that. I know that for a fact.
Exactly.
You know
I
what I'm
got the
saying?
people's brand on. Shout out
What
to my
you
boy
mean?
Scott Holistic. That's my trainer.
Look,
Shout out to Gumby Evolution, my
Look,
boy
look,
DJ
look.
Styles.
Look.
Got that brand of hat. Like,
Look.
this is what we're doing.
Styles.
We gotta take branding to the world. We gotta
DJ
take our
Styles.
brands. We gotta take our music. We gotta take everything dead serious,
I
because
ain't know
nobody's
that.
getting believe us if we don't take it dead serious.
Any one time, it was like some Genki flipping, you know, American brand. I ain't even gonna call no names. I'll be like, yo, done.
Take it off.
Like really, I'll be like trying to focus on your face, but because you're flexing like
You
all
see that?
local,
All
you know
Burmy, man.
all Burmy.
On purpose too. I
Feel
woke
me?
up
What
and said,
you
let me put
mean?
this shirt on, let me put this
What
hat
you
on,
mean on?
and represent.
That's intent. That's intent.
Good. Let's
you know
do
what
it,
I'm saying?
for
That's how it
sure.
goes. So look, Combat and I, we go back a long way.
That's a
and,
fact.
You know, even not even knowing to the fact that I knew his mama.
Okay.
You know, like, you know, and your mom's is like a big fan of mine.
Yeah.
Like, from up the way.
Because my mama's a radical. So
Oh boy.
now she meets
Oh,
other
boy.
radicals and she's a fan.
Oh boy. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And so rapping for you, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, what's rapping for you like? What, because you know, so many times we look at the outlets and the things that people have had coming up. Right now we're in a phase where the video games have got people,
Yes.
the things have got people. The time you came up in, how will you manage to sort of get to your own thoughts to say, get to pen and paper and just
Yeah.
like say, yo, I'm gonna write, like,
Well,
'cause that's what you are.
yeah, for sure. It was an outlet for me to have a voice. You know what I mean? When I started writing and stuff, it was like all you hear was the lyrics and the rhymes, so you had to be good at that there, like, you know what I mean? You couldn't, it wasn't just image. You know, today it's just image. But I was lucky to come up in that time where you had to develop your voice, you had to develop your skills, you had to develop your lyrical ability. And I always worked on my craft no matter what I was going through because it was always my outlet to vent. So, you know, yeah, so it kept me out of trouble. It kept me focused.
Mercy.
It gave me something to do when I was bored.
Okay.
And then I was lucky enough to have A-Track who was making beats from a young age as well.
Mercy.
So I was always able to get my own like original beats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was special to me. So I always took advantage of that.
I'm going cut through the chase on this here because you said keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, man.
You know, keep you in a focused, positive mentality of
Yes.
expression, right?
Not always positive too, because
Okay,
it was just
see?
I was just
Let me hear
able
it.
to express.
Okay.
So if I was happy,
Okay.
I got to write some happy, just, you know,
Okay.
quote
okay.
unquote. If I was upset, man said, I remember I wrote a song, but back when I was young, I was still trying to learn how to write bars and structure
Right.
things. So
Right.
it was more like a poetry type thing too, because it weren't structured like a rap. Like, you know, I still learning. So, you know, if I felt like no one loved me, or I would write that.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Can you give us a bar or something that was like a say it thing?
If
Can
you would
you
have told me,
remember
I
something?
could have brought a old rap book, because I'm got
You got stuff really
books,
back.
right? So it's like I can't
It's
really
cool. It's
recall,
cool. It's
but
cool.
I have old books where it's like if you would have told me, I'd have brought a old book and you know what I mean, and then just said something
Yeah,
to you.
you know,
what I
sometimes
mean?
people remember some of the early
Yeah,
rap
but I
sometimes.
vividly
piece.
remembering rap words just like nobody loves me, like, you know what I mean? But everybody did, but I was able to vent that and not act it out. I was able
Got
to
you.
write it, like, you know what I mean? And
Got
it went a long way to getting it out and then reflecting like, yo, what am I talking about? Everybody does love me. My mama loves me, my daddy, my sister, my friends, boom, boom, bam. You feel what I'm saying? So
Okay.
it was definitely an outlet, you know what I mean? For
Right,
my frustration, for my happiness, for my everything, like, you know what I mean? My sexuality.
Wow.
You know that? Yeah, we have to. That's what it was always there for, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I'm straight, but I'm just saying at the end of the day,
but-
like, it's
but
you got to express yourself, like.
I didn't even think of anything else but you're straight or not. But the fact of the matter is you explored that through your
Music.
through
Yes.
what you were writing and through what you were feeling.
Yes.
So to be able to explore it. And you know, a lot of guys won't even say something like that because they think automatically you're thinking about
Yeah.
being a same-sex type person.
Exactly.
But that's not it at
No,
all.
no.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, when I was young, my best raps were like raps about girls I like.
Oh boy.
We called it girl tune. That would
Jealous.
yeah, that would be like, you know, because I was always shy, so I was always able to express myself like that there, like without having to just go approach a girl. So now it works for me where in this day and age where it's like, look, I could save a lot of drama in my household.
I hear
You know what I mean? I could just go write a song about a beautiful girl I saw today,
boy.
as opposed to feeling like, yo, I'm gotta, like go do something where it's like, yo, it could just have a trickle down effect. So it's all positive and negatives, and then it just balance it out. Like, that's the beautiful thing about music, especially today. It's like, yo, like you could say the wildest thing, and you know, but people don't realize like that's an expression. Like, somebody has to get that off their chest, and if somebody relates to it, if you could put it out there to the masses and somebody relates to it, then that's beautiful too, you know?
Yo, you're opening me up for real. I think, you know, we just saw, we're going to get to one of your new releases. You got two.
Yeah.
That we saw, which was the impetus of you being here today.
Yes, sir.
But let's talk about this young thing, because we just talked about the whole engagement piece, right? And going through those times, a person who knows how to, one, verbalize what they're going through and express themselves, that's half the battle won.
True.
Because you have to have a conversation with yourself.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the disconnect of, one, how family could have been different for you but weren't, and how maybe some people are not getting that, and that's making a difference in what we're seeing. Give me some insights on something like that, if you can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we all come from a place that's been systematically, you know, how can I say it, plotted on. Like, everything's been plotted on. So, you know, put it like this. When I think back as a man, I'm like, I'm thankful for my daddy, because it's like, yo, my daddy, if he was removed from the picture, I'll be a totally different person.
Mercy.
You feel what I'm saying? That's a fact. But, and that's no knock at my mama. It's just like, I'm a strong guy. Like, I needed a man to grip me and be like, yo, and that's what I got. So, you know, when you got households without that there, like, it's like, you kind of see what's going on now. Because it ain't no discipline, like, you know what I mean? Like, and this ain't no shot to the feminine or nothing. Like, it's just like the masculine brings a set of discipline, or supposed to bring this discipline in the environment that the children respect, and then they grow a certain way. So it's like, especially if you got like a solid man, you know what I mean? Because you got men that ain't solid.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I was able to get that there, like, you know what I mean? My dad is Jamaican, so a lot of dumbness just weren't happening, and I was cool with it, like, you know, I was just cool with it, like, look, all right, cool, you know what I mean? And then I look at my environment, I look at my neighborhood, and I'm like, I never knew I lived in a place that was like, I don't know, a threat, or like considered like something, you know what I mean? But like, you know, my parents kept me tight as best as they could, so I wasn't exposed to certain things, and that was the masculine as well. Like, for instance, summertime, I couldn't just stay home. I had to go camp or work, you know what I mean, with my daddy, you know what I mean? So it was like, I weren't able to have idle time. And a lot of times what we're seeing now is a lot of idle time. We're seeing a lot of guys turn into alcohol, whether it's something that they're seeing, or rather it's just a ding, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But a lot of the things we're seeing is alcohol related as well. Because once that spirit gets in you, like, a lot of guys don't even really know how to control it, or even know that they're being taken over by a spirit, to even like, to even be able to be like, you. Because, you know, if you're conscious of things, you have a lot more control over things when you're not conscious. So there's a whole bunch of things that's happening right now in the community that's just been brewing. And I wouldn't say it came to a head. It's always really been a head. It's just more, you know what I mean? Guys are getting real numb to a lot of things that's happening in the community, and that's not a good thing.
Do you think that, because of generations, there are people that you came up with that would sometimes seem to be out of reach?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But is that true? Have you seen some, in terms of your generation, have you seen people seeming to be out of reach, all of a sudden be pulled back in, and they're your boy, and
give me some more. Explain it to me a little better.
Okay, we all got friends.
Yeah.
Some friends ended up being gunmen.
Okay,
I could say that. Yeah, my friends ended up being gunmen. For
sure.
Could they have been pulled back in? Did they get pulled back in? Have you seen some of them be pulled back in? What was it for you? Like, see, with my friends, the only thing that pulled them back in was repetitively going to jail. I'm asking you, did you see a level of your circle that sort of, there were some people on the edge of going there, and how were they pulled back? Because I'm looking for some solutions of how people get pulled back in before, when they're on the cusp. That's what we're going to get. So I'm just wondering if you could share anything like that.
Of course. I'm from the soil, so I could definitely, you know, like, all right. I'm gonna just be honest with you, man. I'm always been a spirit man, and I'm always been interested in, like, for lack of better words, the truth. So rather I'm been around, and I mean in a spiritual sense, like, you feel what I'm saying? I went to Bermuda Institute, so I was open to the spirit world from a young age. You know what I mean? Obviously they had the Christian cloak, but I always saw dude, and I saw the spirit, like, you know what I mean? So to make a long story short, I went around to my friends that was on a certain path, and because I had went to college and I had really dove into the internet and really started researching things myself, and when I learned certain things, I brought it back to my friends, and I tell them, yo, like, this is foolishness, like, you know what I mean? And I didn't just say it, I lived it. I personified everything I was speaking. So when I went to them, they was like, yo, like, like, your boy, like, type thing.
He's doing what he's saying is doing, and what's seeing you do probably the results, as opposed to you just saying it, and then I'm seeing completely something different.
Exactly. And then on top of that, there's like, I was always a guy that opened my gates to people. So for instance, two of my close friends, they was going on a certain path. I had them talks with them. I was away in school, had my own apartment with a roommate. I said, listen, you guys want to get out of Birmingham and come to Atlanta with me? I'm in the studio all the time. Of course I go class and all that, but I'm living what I want to do. Like, I wake up, go class, handle my business, and then I'm in the studio. And I'm, you know what I mean, I'm making music, and that's what they wanted to do. So I didn't just tell them, yo, you're doing the wrong thing. I didn't just show them, like, this is how you do the right thing. I said, yo, come this way. And a lot of times we don't do that there. Like, we just like to talk to guys and then leave them. Even today, like, my doors are open for everybody. Even if it's just a conversation, like, if it's you just holler at me, it's nothing. When I was young, when I was like, say, 18 to 25, there weren't nobody in the 30s doing nothing for us.
Wow.
So that's why I put on the music festival. I'm an older man, even though I'm still young compared to other people. But when I'm 18, 19, 20 years old, you're 30-something child. I'm like, you're old. Cool. But check what you could do when you're older. You know what I mean? And you got to give guys something to look forward to for being older. You know what I mean? I'm on Twitter, I see a bunch of young people, man, I wish I could go back. I don't want to be an adult this way, that way.
Yeah, man.
I'm saying to myself, I would never want to go back to being in my 20s, ever. Ever. Yeah. Because I'm doing cool stuff in my 30s, like. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're not sharing the youth, like, yo, when you get older, you could be cooler and do cooler things and not just be able to go out and drink and no, like, you could do your own thing. Like, I put on a music festival with nobody's support for the youths.
That's big.
So it's like, yo, I'm doing cool things. I'm doing music videos. I'm a figure in the community my way. And if you don't show the youths that, yo, you could do it your way, or they don't see some success in that,
oh boy,
they're gonna feel hopeless, and then they're not gonna give a damn.
Mercy.
And then you got ones who's further down that rabbit hole who don't give a damn because the environment around them is giving them even more reasons not to give a damn. So my friends that like you said, to refer back to your questions, I got the knowledge, and then I shared the knowledge.
Mercy.
And everybody wants to know the truth. I don't care how bud-minded you are. When you start talking some truth about what's really going on, the spirit world, all this type of stuff, they're going to listen, they're going to be intrigued. And if you're spitting facts and you're spitting the truth for real, it's going to either plant a seed, and the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, will water that seed.
Mercy.
Or if y'all been called, like how I was called to tell my friends, look, come out to school, to come out to Atlanta with me, get off the rock. You know what I mean? Just come experience something. There's out there with me for like 3 months.
Open them up.
Let me show you. My roommate, I have a strained relationship at the time with my roommate because I didn't tell him. I was young and dumb myself. And then I bring some young and dumb hood guys to where we're living. And that doing hood stuff. It weren't like a smooth sailing. It was smooth because I was like leading the way, but it weren't a smooth sailing when I did that. It weren't thought out or nothing. I was still very young making decisions, but I knew that I was guarded and I knew that I could guide others, like especially my friends.
Mercy.
If I can't lead a nation, I can lead 2 guys.
Oh, mercy.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it was. It's like, yo,
strong.
That's my experience.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very draining, so I don't always put myself out there like they're trying to save people and all that type of stuff.
Real talk.
So I try to just do my music, like show, like, you know, be a light through my music as far as doing what I want to do. And then also, like, I created the Outlaw Star Music Festival where it's like, yo, like, if you stay positive, if you keep working on your music, if you're not in drama, beef, and all that type of stuff, y'all got a platform you could shine on.
Hold that. We're going to play a little tune, then we come back. We're going to run the first hot tune coming back. This is something that you.
This is one of my favorite joints. Shout out to my boy Jay Silver. That's my neighbor, and it's been my neighbor for years. I mean, yeah.
Remember that?
Of course I remember it. I'm actually happy you're playing it so I can watch it again.
There we go.
Jay Silver was on the Outlaw Star Music Festival stage. That's my real friend.
For life.
Very positive guy.
We'll be back right after this with my boy Combat Force 1 right here. Trust me.
I was born to get it, make moves exquisite, that I blow before I die. Loyalty is how I lived it. No people with talent that believed in the system. All warriors die, R.I.P. because I miss them. The Henny keeps sipping.
You know what that liquor do? Hit you in your stomach, singing Europe like a tripper do.
I'm Coach Class with my queen, but I'm royalty. The universe, my dad got abundance cause he spoils me. I break bread with the homies and
I'm a king, she wants me to sing. She gon' get the ring with the big bling. Life's a queen and I'm a king. She wants me to sing. She gon' get the bling with the big ring. Life's a queen and I'm a king.
My life.
That wasn't Hennessy, by the way, people. I actually replaced the Hennessy with ginger ale. Yeah, so when I poured it out, it still had that tint. And then I could actually drink it and not get tapped and still focus on being an artist. Like, trust me, it was definitely ginger ale in that.
You know what? That was good to know.
Yeah, man, for real. You know, and one thing about me, like, I'm not a gang. I'm not against a lot of things, but at the same time, I'm all for being true to yourself, like, you know what I mean? And not being self-destructive, you know? So everything in moderation, everything in balance, like, you know? Everybody can't be a saint. We got some saints out there. Thank God for them because they help make the world spin. But, you know, more time people just regular, like, and if you know balance is key, like, you know? For sure.
You know, you just break down all these stereotypes because today, this is a subject that we're talking about. And hey, God is good and at on time.
Always. Synchronicity is real.
I'm telling you, because as much as we talked and, you know, and we go through, today is a day where I started off by celebrating the life of this young man that was lost and also sending out condolences to his brethren because a lot of people feel that there's a disconnect in their feelings, right, in relationship to violence.
Okay.
And they think that they don't have the sensitivity of feelings. And we don't we see them at the funerals, but we don't say
nothing.
best condolence.
You don't say nothing.
We don't say nothing to them.
You walk across them for whether it's a fur or whatever.
Yeah, you just walk across them. And we need to engage them at the level and say, you know what? We feel your pain too.
That's the perfect level to engage them in.
Oh boy. That's
because
what I wanted
the
to hear.
ego is broken down. They lost a friend of the heart. So when is a better like you could communicate with a heart person if you know how to. You know what I mean? You could communicate with them, like, because the God's done, like, you know what I mean? If you're coming, I feel like, if you kick it from your heart, like straight from the heart when you're talking, no brain, just heart, people's gonna feel you.
I feel that.
Yeah,
there.
people can't feel you. Like,
Mercy.
the youths are gonna feel you.
The youths are gonna feel you.
Yeah, man.
Which is important.
Yeah, for real.
This is the disconnect. You know, a guy like you, I remember even first hearing you rap and spit, and I just thought about the soul that you were. It was a soul, like, you know, we're just like, this is guy, and you're been the same, but you've been this, like you said, you've been this soulful, spiritual person, like in what you are spitting.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody, like you said, everybody has that raw side, but I never took offense to when I heard you drop a F. I didn't, and sometimes I would let that slide because the overriding factor about what you were saying wasn't about cursing. It was far more intelligent than that.
And sometimes you know,
just the
my thing was I'll say certain words to hit a certain frequency to get a certain audience because I knew people like you was already on a certain frequency, but there's people that was on a lower frequency that will tune off if they don't hear certain things, and it's a subconscious thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, when I do my thing, I'm lucky enough to have to be a master in hip hop. I can say certain things and it be cool. It's not like I'm singing R&B or something where it be a little more distasteful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so the genre it definitely lends to, you know, my form of expression. Like, you know.
Give thanks. So we're gonna let's drop into this first one.
Okay.
Give me the name because I didn't get the link on my piece.
Let me see.
What should I pull it up as?
Oh, okay, yeah. Pull up Stick With Me. Stick With Me. STICK with WTITH me. And I just re-uploaded a new version, a cleaner version for this movement too. You know what I mean? Yeah, keep going. Type in right there. In front of that, Force One Combat. One YouTube, everybody, bear with us. FORCED, all one word, one combat. Number 1, 2. So it'll say Force One Combat, one word, Stick With Me. Number 1.
Oh, that's what I did wrong. Bam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So why you want me talk about this one here?
Yeah. Talk about this one here before we drop it in and introduce it in because.
All right.
You know, we haven't seen you in a little bit. Yeah. Besides, you know, me thinking that slanging banging song that you guys did. That you opened up on with Boo
Run and Run,
right? So this one here, let's talk about this piece here because this is an interesting piece.
Yeah,
stick with me.
Well, hey, you know,
I see what you're going for here.
Yeah, like I ain't even getting lied to you. Stick with me was an experiment. Like as me as an artist, like it's the first song I wrote like that there. As far as on this type of rhythm type thing, it's the first time me rocking with this producer. Shout out to Kimo Sabi. You know, as a young Bermudian producer, he has very good at what he does, as you could hear. You know, and I can't remember right now how I got put onto him, but you know, he is giving me all these different type of beats, like, you know what I mean? Some was on a rap vibe. I got a few songs of it, but you know, this one, like, I wanted to challenge myself if they stick with me to do something where I remember when I was out in school in Atlanta and everybody's like, oh, y'all artists, so why you don't really have no like Caribbean sounding type songs, like, you know what I mean? And I was just heavy into hip hop, me and my producer, so we had a hip hop song. So, you know, with this day and age, Afrobeat is really big right now. So I don't want to, I'm an artist. Before I'm a rapper, I'm an artist, like, you know what I mean? I used to draw when I was little, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to, like, take the visions in my head and put them visually out there, but that weren't God's plan. It was more of a verbal artistry. So I always want to create myself and just be different and just do things, like, but still be myself. So the stick with me was that, like, you know what I mean? It was just, look, let me make something real, for lack of better words, dumbed down, you know what I mean? Something real catchy, you know what I mean? But something where, you know, I'm also spitting and I'm also sharing my vocal ability too, because my mama, I could sing, I come from a singing family, like, you know what I mean? My grandpa or whatever. So that's what I wanted to do. That was the whole experiment. I'm sung before. I'm done a little like reggae type thing before separately. You know what I mean? Of course I rap. This one with her was just mashing it together to where it's like, look, I could come out to the people, do something real simple, something they could sing along with and feel good. It could cross genres. Like I have a brethren in Germany from Berlin. He is playing it around his mama, and his mama singing it. Like, it's like, yo, my mama loves this song. But get this song's over a year old. You know what I mean? So I made this song last year. And I'm never really been like, I'm real, like I said, I'm an artist. So my visuals, I don't want just any type of visuals. Like, I don't want just any type of visuals, and I don't want to work with just any visual videographer. I need something that brings artistry to what they're doing too. Like, you know what I mean? So I never really jumped in to try to shoot a video. You know what I mean? So about a year later, I had this idea, and then, you know, it came together like what you see. That's live in Bermuda. The studio is a major photography studio that we really got blessed from the guy that runs it or owns it or whatever. He's a major photographer in Bermuda. You know, let us use the space. Like, I'm still waiting on a bill. I hope I don't get a bill later. But, you know what I mean? As far as I know, your boy let us use it on the strength. Like, we was real respectful. Shout out to Delano. His into photography. He was the photographer behind everything. And, you know, I just wanted to make a real fun song, like have a beautiful girl in there. Shout out to Destiny, you know what I mean? And, you know, she represented, had that carnival theme because, you know, we're doing carnival and Burmy type thing. So basically, this is like how a rapper does carnival.
Wow. Boy, I'll give thanks. We're going to give it to you from the top. Bust it and watch the beat drop. This is Stick With Me with Combat. The Force. What?
Know that.
Right here. Premiere live on Fresh TV.
Yeah, you
to the world.
That's how I know you're for the people.
Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna let it out like a furnace. We think it's so hot that they burn up. Heaven they tell us stop, we just turn up. Introducing the young ram. This adventure will leave you with suntans. Got stiffing on your back, broke foot, broke neck, and you don't know how to whine. We no want damn. Foo in your spliff, we no want that. I can tell the way it burn on a low pack. And we whine to the beat, we can fight sleep. If you don't know how we do it, just watch him. Look, stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna let it out like a furnace. We make it so hot that we burn up. Heaven they tell us stop, we just turn up. Turn up, turn up. All my girls in the front, pull your shirt up. Turn up, turn up. All my boys in the back, for the herb up. Turn up, turn up. If you're living for the moment, flip the bird up. Turn up, turn up. If you don't know what we bleed, hey. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna light it up like a furnace. We make it so hot that they burn up. Ever they tell us stop, we just turn up.
Party, party. It's 1,000 degrees in this party. Shoddy, shoddy. You can leave with me if you're naughty. Probably. One split, 2 shots of Bacardi. Cardi. One time we go touch, then you call me. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna light it up like a furnace. We think it's so hot that they burn up. And when they tell us stop, we just turn up. Yeah, shout out to Dope HD, shout out to Album 4 Digi, shout out to Destiny, shout out to everybody that was involved in this Stick With Me. Only type of person, right? And they know a hit, I know a hit, that's a hit, and I'm gonna run with it. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, straight like that.
Yo, the video is clean.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And I'm proud that I'm thankful that you even said that there for the simple fact that it took a year to even get done like this. Huh?
All this
persistence, man. You guys, let me share if ever anything, if you look at the kid, like, and you want to get just one word, yo, diligence, like, persistence. Like, there's the words that define me the best, man. Trust me when I tell you. For real, though.
That's real talk, though. That's real talk. You know, to bring about a new change in video and in the levels that were got in Bermuda, it's gonna take time. You know, you could go there and do the video in 2 hours. You could go there and do the video in 4 hours. You can, if the concept is right. And the concepts have been what's missing.
Yes.
Now you're getting into more concept thinking. I can see where there was some direction on you, on what you need to do as shots and poses and things of that nature. So you can see it, you know, starting to take on a new level and a new form. So you know, so hey, hail up to the team. That, you know, that put this forward.
The team is very important in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the team's important because it's actually a team environment.
Yeah, I mean, you see one person on the screen, but this is with everybody, too. I don't care who it is. You might see that one guy, whether it's a Drake or whether it's a whoever. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's a big team.
It's a team effort.
And when they get that check, when they do them shows and get that $100,000 for a show, the team's eating off of that deal. It ain't one man just caking. It's the team. People's got to understand that. To get to where you're on a level where you can make a certain amount of money, the team has to be disciplined and done for the goal. And, you know, that's like, you know, the challenge I'm facing right now is to just come up with my team. Like, yes, you work with people, but you're dedicated to the goal of creating an international Bermudian superstar that's from the dirt, from the soil, that don't just pop up out of nowhere. Like, you could come, touch, feel me. You see where I'm at? I'm in Fresh TV right now, B. You see what I'm saying? So if a guy like me busts to the world, come on now, more. You think I'm not gonna come back Fresh TV? You think I'm not gonna be back with the people? We gotta think, like, we gotta put somebody in power as far as pushing them to these top that's ready for it. Mentally, spiritually, physically. So we could be proud.
We're going to take a little bit break before we wrap this up. If we do, we've got one more to bust for you. We'll be back right after this. Fresh TV, the best TV. Stick with me. Honest, we just leave with this one till we come back. Check it out.
This adventure will leave you with suntans. Got stiffing at your back, broke foot, broke neck, and you don't know how to whine. We not want damn. Foo in your spliff, we not want that. I can tell the way you burn on a low pack. And we whine to the beat, weekend fight sleep. If you don't know how we do it, just watch him. Look, stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. Stick with me, believe me. Stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna let it up like a furnace. We make it so hot that they burn up. And when they tell us stop, we just turn up. Turn up, turn up. All my girls in the front, pull your shirt up. Turn up, turn up. All my boys in the back, for the herb up. Turn up, turn up. If you're living for the moment, flip the bird up. Turn up, turn up. If you don't know what we do, hey, stick with me, believe me. I make everything look easy. To the top, show the world up. We're gonna light it up like a furnace. We make it so hot that they burn up. And when they tell us stop, we just turn up. Party, party. It's 1,000 degrees in this party. Shawty, shawty. You can live with me if you're naughty.
TV right here inside SV.
Probably. One split, 2 shots of Bacardi.
Into.
And the hook's dedicated to all Bermudian artists. So when you listen to the hook, think about like your artist that you know, or your brethren singing it. Like, yo, to the top, show the world up. You know what I mean? We're gonna light it up like a furnace. You know what I mean? They tell us stop again. That's Bermuda. That's Bermudians. You know what I mean? Tell a Bermudian calm down. I'm like, what? Man, what? Yo, I'm turning up more. Well, I know that's me. That's me.
That's coming. You know, I love the spirit, man. Always did. Always do. Now, obviously, the last one.
Yes, sir. The dip and goo. Yeah, the dip and goo.
The dip and goo.
Yeah, man.
Tell us about dip and goo. You're getting a 2 for 2 this morning. You all better be thankful. Honest.
Yeah, man. Blessings, blessings. You know, that's how I know you're for the people, man. Trust me, I've been saying it.
Yeah,
you know, the dip and go was it was a special song. It's a special song, you know. the songs, the hardest songs come effortlessly, like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel,
I feel you.
you know?
Yeah, the
like,
gifts, the gifts.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
that's
the
the
gifts.
best way to put it. It's
Yeah, the
channel, and it's literally a
Yeah.
gift
Yeah.
from God, from the
Yeah.
universe, from whatever you
Yeah,
believe in.
it's
I
a
don't even
gift.
care. So, man, it's all said and done. Like, it came from a situation where me and General Caution last year we were supposed to perform at Snorkel Park, but it rained out. So I had hit up them boys because I had a relationship with them. Shout out to them boys.
Them
And I was
boys.
like, look, we guys are supposed to perform, but we ain't performing. So, can we come to the studios? Me and Caution, like, you guys just can come through. So, they're like, yeah, Collide, Juma. It's like, yeah, come through, like, you know what I mean? So, boom, we come through, and we can't do. Sat off. And around this time was when Caution was telling me, was kind of putting me on game about, getting beats online. You know what I mean? Because I was always like local producers. I got 8-track. If all else fails, I got 8-track. So he was just putting me on game. Yeah, like he was just putting me on game at the time. So when we got to the studio, he's like, yo, come check these beats out. Like I'm in, praying these beats. I'm like, yeah, let's check it out. Like, so he got up to the computer, typed in a couple beats, and then the Dip and Go beat came up. And I was like, yo, that's hot. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, whoa, like that's hot. You gotta keep switching it. Like, that's it. And then everybody else is feeling it too. Like Kalai, Juma, 1443, like we was all just vibing, like,
That's
you
a
know
lot
what I
of
mean?
big names you got in the room too.
And that's what's wicked about Bermuda. Like when you remove the ego, like you can have them names in the
There's
in the
a
building.
lot of big names.
So
in
the energy, you feel me, was there.
Yeah.
So boom, I'm like, yo, that's hot. And I started thinking of bars or whatever. I didn't start thinking of bars first. I apologize. 14 came up with the hook. And I was like, oh, I know music. I know hits. I surround myself with every day. So when the guys start humming all that there, I'm like, yo, we're getting with that. So it's building. Got to a point where, okay, cool. So I said, yo, I'm getting in the booth. So I hopped right in the booth. I didn't write nothing. The hook was, I heard it. I said, yo, let's do it. I know it. I know what it is. So I got in the booth. Just on the vibe, it was just a good vibe. It was still making moves like a boss would. When I come and do on the way. So I just pieced it together in the booth. Like, no questions out there doing this thing, writing this verse. The time I was done my verse, the hook was ready. So the guy got in there, did the hook or whatever, boom, boom, bam. The hook came out lovely. Like, I was like, wow. You know what I mean? The verse matched everything. Like, you know what I mean? Boom, Caution gets in there. I like you. You like me? I was like, whoa. When we was done, we was all like, whoa, this is hot. No, honestly, it was like one of them, like, whoa, like, yo, everybody done the thing. Like, and then the beat was fire. Like, you know what I mean? So I took it upon myself to go get a lease for the beat. Like, you know what I mean? I just ran online, boom, and bam. Hollered at the producer. Shout out to producer Zeph. His out there, his original name was Dot Rotten. Like this is how I know. Like I done my research. Like I don't just do things. Like I checked the producer out, checked all his information, looked him up, reached out to him. He said, "Yo, bruv," because it's from the UK. He says, "Yo, bruv, the files for the track and all of the beats going, but you can still use the MP3 YouTube version or whatever." So that's what we did. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And
That's nice.
Part of that, Miss Shivers, shout out to Laura Ron Pitt and Company to get the whole battler look, you know what I mean, with the battler girls and everything. If you really look at the Dip and Go, it's really like one of the first of its kinds in Bermuda.
Okay.
Meaning, I reached out to the community to come to a party, to be a part of the video.
Got you.
We done the video, you see what I'm saying? And then the video is in a club with battler all everywhere. It's one of the first videos where I got one of the limo services to pull up in the Audi. You feel me? So when you see us, that's a limo service. Shout out to them. I can't remember their name at right now. But you feel what I'm saying? Like it was a community effort. You see the dancers all in there. You feel what I'm saying? It was a community effort, and it's really the first of its kind as far as in a club. Shout out to Cosmo. You know what I mean? And yeah, it came out like that there. And as far as the lyrics and the hook and all that, like we already knew promiscuity is big in Bermuda. I'm just gonna
boy.
keep it one, like, you know what I mean?
boy, oh
So it was just one of them vibes where we played all for that, like, type thing, like, you know what I mean? And it's gotten a good response because people probably living it, like, you know what I mean?
Well, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. Most times, you know, people do identify
With what how they're living.
with what's being said,
Yeah,
right?
man, facts.
You know, it's like from backing up to, you know, to how the people are
Yup.
dancing, how the people are moving, what the slang is on the street. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? Because I remember talking to some girls one time, and we talked about the girls. I said to the girls were saying, they were singing this song from a Cardi B. And I said, tell me something. Are you girls going out, right? And that's the way y'all communicating and talking. And there it is, Jesse's song. It's Jesse's song. Give me about 15 minutes later. Oh, if that N rolls up on me, I said, hey.
Yep.
That's what she just said. Flip it around. Right?
Hey, a lot of times people is affected by the music and don't even realize
They
it,
don't
yo.
even realize.
But this one here, you know, like that's basically why I feel like people's loving it, like, you know. And I come through with the fresh rush, like the big dog, like, you know what I mean? Like, you, like,
Resonating with the-
yeah, like, you feel what I'm saying? Resonating with the ladies. I'm
Yeah.
that guy where it's like, yo, I can't do, and I'm that guy, like, you know what I mean? And you got the Bermudians that's like that, they're like that, just old swag, like, and just old bravado, like, you know what I mean? Like, where it's like, yo, I'm the man. So that's kind of what I wanted to portray on this record, like, you know what I mean? And I'm coming through on the old wood, like, you feel me?
This is a fun side.
Yeah, it
this
is.
is another fun side of the industry, you know, because
know that.
the artists are not one-dimensional, man.
No,
They're,
at
you know,
all.
they're dealing with entertainment. That's what artists do.
Exactly.
Don't take it personal.
No. It's all entertainment, people.
Don't take it personal because, you know, life is like yin and yin. It's up,
Exactly.
it's down, it's in between.
And you need that
And
balance.
you definitely need it because they act like everybody's a sanctus.
That's what Bermuda's been doing all the time.
All do you say?
Like what's so self-righteous, and that's why Bermuda's just like mug, and we're trying to come up out of that. You know what I mean? That's why you see
keep
soca
it
busting
real.
all that type of stuff. We're trying to come up out of, especially the youth. The youth want to, yo, this is the real Bermuda. Like, we don't want that fake Bermuda out there to the world. Where you got a whole bunch of one demographic type of tourists coming here, and you're trying to just cater to just this certain demographic.
Mercy.
The world's big. The internet's opened this up to the whole entire world. So put our best foot forward and put our genuine best foot forward. Straight. That's calm all
Straight.
day.
Oh boy. Anyway, let's get to this video. This one here. I was looking for the video, but the video didn't come up.
right there. It's just the cover art and the actual, yeah, that's it. No, this has official audio.
That's what I'm saying. That's the official audio. I was looking.
take out that, take that out.
Take out.
What's on comment? It's not on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
The Dip and Girls on Damn Boys YouTube channel. Hit enter, let's see.
Bam. Boy, see, you got to be in the know how it all goes.
Yeah, you know that.
Anyway, this is it right here. This is the big tune.
Yeah, she's doing numbers right now. Shout out to everybody supporting the video. We're going to do a party coming up soon, so look out for it.
Oh boy. Anyway, this is the Dip and Goes with General Caution. Check it.
A lot of beautiful people in this one.
Still making moves like a boss would. When I'm coming through, I'm throwing all wood. Large pack crib smell good. I brought me who she fell for. Me. Low price make it sell more. Kiss her neck, start a dawn pour. When I'm done, she no want more. Yeah, but me I feel do an encore. Sweet and low, but man I turn up like V54. Anytime I feel dip and go. Unless she have a quarter, feel roll hydro. This I know. A bad man, what you call this? Yeah, her father showed her if he roll split.
Come on, what you
Hot
mean?
girl, she a cool chick.
What you mean? What you mean? You know I was about to pull this
I need
up
to
big
pull up.
time.
I
You
need
know
to
I was
pull up.
about to pull that up. What you mean?
We're in Fresh TV, live Fresh TV, big Elmo over there.
Yo.
The Dip and Go Aguan.
Yo, head
You
to
see me?
pull up.
We'll keep living, Mr. Holistic Shadow, ain't big. Look at us. Look at us. Look at me right there. Shout out to Rocky G, shout out to Ashley the Ballad Girl. Shout out to my boy Becky. You know that. No.
Yeah.
Yo, man, legend, Elmore, Crash TV, Dawn.
Big tune, honest. Premier, only on Fresh TV. This is how we do it.
They can still making moves like a boss would. When I'm coming through, I'm throwing all wood.
Long pack, crib, smell good. I got me go, she fell for. Low price, make it sell more.
Kiss her neck, start a dawn pour. When I'm done, she know I'm more.
But me, I feel do an encore. Sweet and low. Come on, call up like 354. Anytime I done me, I feel dip and go. Unless she have a quarter, feel roll like roll. This I know. A bad man, what you call this? I thought I said off the road split.
Every run this one again. This is a big tune.
Yeah, if you like music, you like this.
Yo, this is a swing. You got that dance hall in it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You got that nice swing to it. It's got that little drop in it. Yo, it's a big tune.
Yeah, man,
yo,
big
that
time.
buys all you guys in the room that made this happen.
Hats off, yeah, hats off.
That's all. The big tune. This is the second pull up. What?
If your man, what he don't know.
Yo, caution. You know, you're next. Come on.
Yeah, we got caution up here, no worries. So I got him up here.
They can still making moves like a boss would.
When I'm coming through, I'm doing
all wood.
Law pack, crib smell good. I brought me jiggle who she fell for. Low price, make it sell more. Kiss her neck, start a dawn pour. When I'm done, she know I'm more. But me, I feel do an encore. Sweet and low. Come on, I style up like 5-4. Anytime I done me, I feel dip and go. Unless she have a quarter, feel roll like roll. This I know. A bad man, what you call this? Her father showed off the roll split. Hot girl, she a cool chick. When me done, me just go there.
Ah, boy. We be talking to you guys later. Fresh TV, the best TV. We're gonna leave you with this one. And we thank you for coming in, Force. Come back. We thank you for coming in, brah.
I'm the type of guy, like I love doing interviews, so anytime, any place, anywhere, let's get it.
Yo, so until the next time, Fresh TV, the best TV. Caution, take it off.
Who say me come from a criminal? Real thing or nothing, they subliminal. Girl come and touch with the general. And a long talk and no girl a bant. I like you, I like you. You like me, you like me. I don't wanna argue, I don't wanna fight you. I like you, you like me. She said for the piping, so wait with that fighting. You wanna see the glow, touch her eyes. Give me thunder, anytime you bring the lighting. Sipping on the henny with the berry that I'm mighty. Everybody
You can try to listen to a lot of it. And I can hit the L43 43 notes. I'm gonna say this for live, dude.
Okay.
I'm Chakras live. Whenever you see combat, whenever you see general caution, make sure you go buy a ticket or whatever we're doing. Come out and support that. That's a fact.
Sanji, you're in there. Yo, blessed, you know what I'm saying? Taylor made.
Rip the dance legend, you know? Rip everybody that's dead and gone. We'll represent, we're gonna take it to the world for everybody live and dead. We're gonna represent Birmingham to the fullest. You know that.
Fresh TV, the best TV. International Thursday, Tuesdays. We're out. Boy. This is Bermuda's End. Brian Swan and And Nikki Swan. This is the 100 local. Watch these wicked beats drop. Club Wednesdays. I thought I started off with a local, you know what I'm saying? Give a little love, you know?
Give a little love.
Give a little love today. Yeah.
Give a little love to warm you.
Give a little love.
Warm you. Give a little love to warm you.
Oh boy.
Give a little love to warm you. Give a little love to warm you.
Come on, Willis. Get up.
I don't know. Saying give a little love, I don't know about that.
Give a little love. Give a little love to warm you. It takes a little to warm you. Give a little love. Give a little love to warm you. Give a little love to warm you. Give a little love to warm you.
You don't get it yet?
Give a
You ain't never gonna get it.
to
Skull, skull. The song's called Give a Little Love. You get it? Watch the talent though. This is talent. This is all live, right? It's not rehearsed. This is live. Check it. Watch this brother blow down. Look. Watch. Brian Swan. Directed by yours truly. All my young people out there in your summer camps, summer daycare, summer watch the children. Give a little love today, Kay. No iPads today, no phones and gimmicks, okay? Talk to your little brother and sister.
Give a little love, little love,
that
give a
camera.
little love.
Looking outside
Give a
today.
little love to warm you. Give a little love, give a little love, give a little love. Give a little love to warm you. Give a little Give a little love to warm you. Give a little love to warm you. Give a little love to warm you. You're not with important. Give a little love, give a little love, give a little love. Give a little love, give a little love, Badness out of style.
Badness out of style. You started here more than what, 7 years ago? Badness out of style. Honest. Yo, I just have to celebrate that one. It was something I had in the vote. Like, I've got stuff like that in the vote that I need to get out to you. Anyway, you have any young people that are just, interested? Help me get my library out. Put it on to digital form. Like, you have to go scout the schools this year. Yes, get some help. Because I have a lot of stuff in the vault, I have like a whole library of stuff I'd love to get out to you. Oh my. I went through some Alan Crifts the other day. Now, who would like to see some Alan Crifts? But you got to pay for that, It's been 20 years of air conditioning and trying to keep alive. It needs to go into an archive because else I'm going to lose that. I'm going to lose it if I don't, get some help to actually transfer it. Because tapes, how your tapes get at home? Well, you imagine, right? I have to keep them in air condition and run the bill. And some people wonder why I can't just give them a copy. It's like, it's cost, The last, 30 years since 1992, I got my first real shooting done in probably 1990, right? 1997, maybe 1990, right? I was shooting some stuff, right? And so I have stuff from way back 1990. And while it doesn't seem old, it's old to Bermuda when you think about collecting community history, black history, what we were doing, what we were thinking, what our young people say. A lot of these people are now doctors, lawyers, people who are very, what you call it now? They're very affluent in the community. Some of them been senators. I think about even got a minister or two in there as well. They went on to form Chew Stick. I mean, I got some history, right? And no one else was collecting it. So it's got to be worth something, at least to the black community, if not Bermuda. It's got to be worth something. So I can't just give it away. Like people come here, and I get it. You come on the show, and yes, you come on the show, but look what it takes for me to capture your essence, your history. You know what I'm saying? And I think some people take that for granted. Where there are others like, Mama Casey, Queen Casey, who just had her 80th birthday, and she came and she made sure she put something in my hand. And, and she's been, the family is amazing anyway, but she's been incredible to me. So, yeah, she deserves what she gets. But many people, I think, just take it for granted. Hey, could I get a copy? And you get it for $25. No. You know what I mean? This costs more than $25 just to run the lights. So when people think like they're giving you something, who else is capturing your essence? Let's just ask, who's really interested in capturing the stories of this country? I'm just saying, because if I don't, my advisor told me the other day, and she said, Elmore, sometimes you just got to be your own advocate. Because maybe I expect people to just do the right thing and be considerate, and I think she was right. I haven't been to the people and said this is the case and laid it out, from politicians to business maybe, and to just average person. So I'm gonna start advocating for myself, and you could call me show off, you could call me high-minded, you could call me egotistical, you could call me arrogant, you could call me what you like. But with all humbleness of heart, I just have to advocate for myself. Because no one else is going to do it for you, she said. And you know what? I believe she's right. So, that's the new stance. Oh, let me see. Somebody wrote me something. I need my glasses. Thank you, Fresh TV. Top of the morning. Thank you for the number. Yes, I did mention it on FB LOL. I agreed. You are doing a great service. Maybe we should find out an old-fashioned remedy for your throat. My granny used to tell me that okay, so here we go. My granny used to tell me
Swallow some vinegar, olive oil, and honey as soon as I feel my throat act up. May God bless you and keep you. He may order your steps and protect your coming ins and your going outs. We come against those who seek to block you for the doors he opens. For you, no man can shut. Amen. The spiritual warfare rap was right on time. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Thank you very much, and thank you very much too from an avid viewer for sending in that. So I gotta look at the I gotta mention the olive oil. So it's vinegar, olive oil, and honey. You know, it sounds like something that would work, to be quite honest. Vinegar, yes. Honey is an earned one, and olive oil is an earned good oil. Slide down in there. So I got my first remedy. I have olive oil, I do have vinegar, and I do have some honey. Let's see if that one works. I will try that one because I like natural remedies. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I'm see, when you put stuff to the universe, like when you put it out there, and you, that's how it is when you're unafraid just to put it out there. You know, I love that. I love it. Thank you. And see, she didn't mention her name. She didn't, or he. They just said, see, so the messengers, not, see, don't kill the messenger. Anyway, news time. Inequity not going away. I don't like that word. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like the old equity not going away thing. Yeah. I'd much rather equity is going away, but not on the terms that people might think. You know, equity is going away because it's not going to be comfortable for some. Equity is going away because we're going to take up some uncomfortable financial positions to make sure that we deal with the people who have been not. Yeah. Okay. Matching Somerset will take time to admit, Steve. Okay, matching Somerset will take time to admit. That's a cup match. Really fired up by a stunning victory. Okay, there was a stunning victory somewhere. Who got the stunning victory? The stunning victory over NCAA Division II champion Shipsburg has lit the fire underneath the team, just according to Captain Jasmine Patterson. At the Central American Games and the Caribbean qualifiers, November cannot come soon enough. Girls from Alex Francis and Maya Placido gave the national side a 2-win victory over the Raiders, who are preparing to defend their collegiate national championship in the United States. This must be what you call field hockey. Ahoy! Field hockey. Field hockey getting some shine today on Fresh TV, the best TV. All right. Field hockey doing some damage. They got some competition coming up. Let's go and support field hockey. Coming up. Can't come soon enough. Okay. Hey, Maya Placido. That's Manuel's daughter, the great artist. And Gail. Yes. That's their daughter. Give thanks. Doing it big. See, you don't even think about, well, they put up a pretty nice court up there. It's first class. So maybe we're starting to get some real results out of there and that field hockey. Good stuff. You see, Knocky Wells might be, that's not good news, and I can't really talk about that's not good news. I'll talk about that, the bad news. I don't like that. You know, we would just talk about the possibilities. Now maybe he might make some more money, but suppose he has to drop down to Division 3 to get $10 million. I mean, who wants that? You want the Premier League and make $5? Yeah, you know what I mean? That's what who wouldn't take $5 to play in the Premier League? I'm trying to put up my hand. I'm trying. I can't even put up my hand. I'll take $5 to play in the Premier League. Shoot. Just give me housing at the nearest bus stop, the transportation from the double-decker bus to the games. I'll still be happy. Premier League. Anyway, Naki, hopefully they have some sense there. But, they did recruit some gunners. It goes to show you, no loyalty in the Premier League. Shoot. Nah, it's all about winning. It's like, hey, Naki, thanks a lot. Thanks for getting here, dude. Here's the bus stop. Penny for your thoughts. Not cool. Not cool. You will pay for that if that happens. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? I'm just letting that guy know, and that team know, and that whole town know. Curse it! If you do that to Naki. I'm just letting you know. That's how I feel about my brethren. I don't mean, you know what I mean. But that's his Bermudian. He's out there. He's doing the big. He got him to the table, and now you're talking about what? Man, fire and brimstone over there in that city. I'm not even gonna call her name right now, cause I'm incensed just thinking about it, and I'm sure you should be too. Everybody at home should be incensed. Send me a text, let me know you're incensed if they do that to Naki over there in the UK. I myself will go to Buckingham Palace and plead on his behalf. Okay, that was a little bit too far. Maybe I'll go over there and knock down the gate or something. Shoot. Tell him, go talk to your wayward child over there in that low town where that low Bermudian young man took him to the Premier Division. Anyway, not going away. I'll hit some more this. I hit some more this in the not going away thing. I got a thought on not going away, but we'll be back right after this. Let me play some tune. It's Club Wednesdays. Club in the morning, crack of dawning, I'm yawning. This is the pick me up. Yo, who's got the exercise on today? This is your exercise music. Who's got the exercise on? Who's got the exercise on? All right, get low, get up out of your bed, grandma. All right, somebody tell me they do that little exercise to this. So, this is Club Wednesdays. Rocking in the morning, do your yoga thing. Okay. All right, Club Wednesdays, we'll be back right after this. Fresh TV, the best TV. Then, get your cancer cream out. Big time.
This is the moment they've all been waiting for.
This is the moment.
This is the sound of Alternate.
Again, back inside Fresh TV, the best TV. We had some photographs. Our beloved doctor shared some of those photographs with us as we continue to move inside. Now, movements of broadcasting and media in Bermuda. We had some pictures up of some. I definitely like for you to share who the people are in these shots. I know Quentin Ednis. There's Quentin to the up in the left corner.
Quentin Ednis was one of the first, actually I think he might have been the very first person I spoke with. And I spoke with him in 2014, and I followed up with him in 2016, so yeah, last year. But he was instrumental in the fact that he gave me first-hand insight as to what it was like to be the first black Bermudian broadcaster in Bermuda.
Wow.
And to be able to capture these, I mean, all of these interviews have been powerful because, as you can see, the era, you know, these people are getting older and their stories are phenomenal. He talked about, you know, the fact that one thing that worked for him is that he spoke unlike most of the other Bermudians. He had something called a mid-Atlantic accent. And I do a bit of research on accents and how at the BBC there were certain accents being used, and in broadcasting in America there were certain accents being used. And in America it's the mid-Atlantic accent. It's the accent where you can't really tell where the person is from. It's sort of like a Canadian sound. You know, so he talked about the fact that he went to school in Canada and the States, and he had a lady that worked with him and taught him how to speak properly.
Okay.
You know, and I talked about what does speak properly mean. Yeah. So, you know, he comes on the radio, he comes back to Bermuda, and he says it took him 3 years to get a job with the Bermuda Broadcasting Company. And he finally landed a spot. They gave him the midnight slot, and he had a program called The Curly-Headed Kid in the Third Row.
Oh,
and
mercy.
it was the most popular show out.
Wow.
I spoke with Charles Webb, who actually talks about Quentin Ednis. He says, you know, that for him, listening to the curly-headed kid in the third row, everybody would race home to hear that program. And it was at a point where Bermuda was heavily segregated. You know, and Quentin Ednis and Charles Webb both say, you know, the island was racially segregated. You couldn't deny that. And so broadcasting reflected that. But he was one that got in. Quentin Ednis got in, and because of his voice and his personality and his charm and charisma, he was able to really have a huge following of Bermudians at that late night shift, to a point where the Bermuda Broadcasting Company gave him another slot earlier in the day because he was so popular.
Then you look like you got Jim Woolridge.
I had CV Jim Woolridge. That was a very
lower left-hand corner.
Yes, that was a lovely, entertaining interview. I've known Mr. Woolridge for quite some time, when he was actually Minister of Tourism. My mother was his actual personal assistant, so I used to go to his office after school when I was just in primary school, and you know, oh darling, you know, he had this voice.
Oh well, he loved the looks, he loved the ladies.
So, you know, it was really nice to reconnect with him and hear his stories. His take on it was slightly different. He came after Quentin Ednis in radio broadcasting. He was actually more into marketing, and he talked about how he used his personality and the fact that a lot of advertisers and companies would be like, you know, who is this black guy coming trying to sell us, you know, ads and stuff. And he said he just did the best he could, and he just became very popular, and people were calling for him. So he talked about the fact that there were a large number of Canadians at the Bermuda Broadcasting Company, and not all of them treated the few blacks that were there very nicely. And so he talked about what that felt like for him. But, you know, Mr. Woolridge has made a name for himself, so history has spoken as far as how he's overcome those obstacles from that period of time.
Truly. Then we have Elsie Moore and Delano Ingham here.
Yes. Yes, I didn't spend as much time with Mr. Seymour and Mr. Ingham, but from a news side, Mr. Seymour was talking about, you know, what the early days of broadcasting was like for him. I probably, you know, I'm going to be putting together a documentary film about all of this.
Okay.
And so I would definitely use both Mr. Seymour and Mr. Ingham in more of my 70s research,
Okay.
whereas Quentin Edness and Mr. Woolridge and Charles Webb were more, when I'm speaking specifically about the 50s going into the 60s. So
Right.
it was a different time period.
Yeah.
But their account of setting up, you know, Mr. Ingham, for example, is brilliant. He's a brilliant engineer, setting up the station. He talked about, you know, working with a lot of the foreigners that came down to build the station, and you know, they both had huge contributions to my work.
To your work. And then, of course, we have the great
Yes.
Ira Phillip, and
Yes.
everybody remembers him from the Capital Broadcast.
Yes.
That famous grin.
Yep, one
And,
of the first news managers at Capitol, influential in the Recorder. Mr. Phillip had quite a huge contribution. We didn't get a video interview with him, but I was able to get loads of photos, and he actually signed his book and gave me his book as a token and gesture of, you know, how proud he was, and thanked me for actually doing research on the Recorder. So he covers quite a bit of what I was looking for in his book. So I, you know, read his book, and I have pulled out quite a bit of chunks in relation to arguments that I'm making throughout my research.
Right, Ralph,
Yeah.
because that was definitely written when you start reading from Monk to Mozambique. I mean,
Yes.
you get the picture
Yes.
of what was going
Yes.
on here, and when that recorder would come about.
Yeah, and I want to point out also that although my research is Bermuda focused, because I cross over multiple disciplines, I've had to resort to looking at post-colonial studies, cultural studies, television history, international television history, broadcasting studies. So I've drawn upon academics and researchers from all over the world that have some type of contribution to aspects of colonial studies or colonial discussion even, because I use Frantz Fanon, for example, quite a bit when he's looking at the role that newspapers and radio played in the fight for anti-colonialism with France and Algeria. So I can draw upon his work and say, okay, well, in France, in Algeria, sorry, the French colonials were doing this. They were shutting down the radio stations. They were doing this. So I can say, this would be why in Bermuda, you would see ZBM cutting those type of programs because they're talking. So I have to use...
what was influencing the fact that they would stay around, be allowed to broadcast.
Yeah.
So they were learning from these areas, hey, if we go this far,
we can do this or we can do that.
this,
Yeah.
we can't do that sort of thing. Wow, here's the picture of Montague.
Yes.
Mr.
So yeah, so I've
Montague
talked
Shepherd.
about his experience and how he felt that there were quite a bit of blockages prohibiting him from actually just getting going, and he overcame those challenges, and you know, he
Wow.
opened up Capitol in 1963.
Now, is he still?
Yep.
Still living?
What I found when I spoke with him is that his memory was a bit sporadic, and his daughter Monique was there, so she was amazing. So what I've done in my research is, with every interview that I've conducted, I've done additional research. So I would make notes about key points that they've said, and then I would go and research and to make sure that, you know, because you can't just assume everything happened the way it's being recalled. You got to remember that we could have one event seen by 10 different people, and 10 different people will have a different account of what actually happened. So that's where I use the newspapers, both the Recorder, the Royal Gazette. I spend loads of hours in archives, Bermuda Archives, online, the Bermuda National Gallery online, just compiling material to cross-reference quite a bit of the accounts that I covered. So
And does the does the Royal Gazette account for the white perspective on this whole thing, or did you manage to get interviews with like the Staskos or the people who were there in the earlier days? Are there any of those, the Brian Lodges,
right,
and anything like that? Did you cross into that or no?
Well, the way that I've broken my thesis down, like I said, is that it's in two parts. So I look at broadcasting and media from the industry side at the beginning. So that was white Bermuda. And when I look at race in relation to internal issues, I'm looking at more of the recorder and the recorder's response to the Royal Gazette. So no, I don't get into discussions of white representation in the media, because that was the media.
The media.
Right.
Right. That's
so
what I was
it's
asking.
almost like it's an assumed.
Right. They had a perspective already. It was already being put out,
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes.
So.
And it's not so much a black-white thing. What I'm actually just trying to show is that having ownership of a black newspaper allowed blacks an opportunity to actually counter discussions that may not have been actually accurate in reference to the way blacks would be represented or discussed. So for me, I didn't think it was necessary in this context to bring that up. In my next discussion, in further research, that would be something I would look at. I was hoping to get Kenny, is it Kenny DeFont?
Kenny DeFont.
Yep. Those
Silver Fox.
You can't get those type of
guys.
interviews now, but those would have been, key interviews. So what I've done, I've looked at interviews that other people have taken in the past and just gone over, because I do a section on Portuguese Bermuda and how Portuguese also felt at times that they were treated a different way, and they would change their name or speak a certain way so that they wouldn't quite be associated as being Portuguese. And there was even something passed at the Bermuda Broadcasting that you can speak in Portuguese on air. So it wasn't just black and white Bermuda. It was, the Portuguese community also endured elements of identity construction in regards to Bermuda's broadcasting landscape. And I talk about that quite a bit in one of my chapters in reference to when I talk about how the colonial identity was trying to be maintained. So any threat, such as speaking in Portuguese or blacks talking about progressiveness, would be considered a threat to the colony. And those things had to be basically stopped. So I end in 1963, just as the Capital Broadcasting Company is emerging. There were 3 policies introduced: the Emergency Powers Act, the Prohibited Publications Act, and the Public Order Act. And I found those to be interesting to come about at the specific time following the theater boycotts, and just as the Progressive Labor Party was being formed, Justice Capital was being formed, all of these new acts were being sort of created, what I argue to be securities for the colonial government to avoid any further problems or threat to British colonial identity here in Bermuda.
You in looking at the work it takes, I mean, like you're saying, people think you have to explore so many different avenues to prove your case, in a sense, because that's what you're doing. You're putting forth
it's an argument.
An argument that says this is why, and you prove your case, and then they go ahead and they strip it all down. And they look at where you got this from, how you know this, did so and so, and that's why you talk about the various other colonial situations across the diaspora, around the world, and so on, to see if, hey, there could have been a similarity that happened someplace. This was the presidents that were set, and so on and so forth. Unbelievable work. I'm gonna push it into the future before we wrap up. One, you have Marlene B. Landy here, so I want to show this before we go into our last break, and then come back and talk about influences today. How do we see the media now, and what's happening? How do you see media in Bermuda, and what the influences, the good, the bad, and where it might need to go, some projections, some future thought. Yeah, but here's Marlene B. Landy.
Yes, I dedicated my presentation on Sunday evening to Marlene. She was a great person to interview as a broadcaster, but also as a black female, speaking about that experience as being a black woman in radio and television. And I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with her. So, you know, I thought it was only fitting to dedicate my first Bermudian presentation about my research to her in her memory.
Very, very, very nice. Very, very fitting for you to bring that. I'm surprised that, you know, and who was the real first woman of television in Bermuda? Who was that? Did you get that in there?
No, to be honest, I actually haven't spent a whole lot of time on that. I was looking specifically at the 50s, and as you see from my first set of pictures, there were predominantly males that were involved. But I did speak with Leola Stovall, and like I said, Marlene B. Landy, and there were a number of other women that were heavily involved in radio and broadcasting, but mainly coming into sort of the mid 60s, going to the late 60s. But that's a whole nother area of research that I do want to explore, women in broadcasting in Bermuda.
I'm just looking for a nice little video to play as we go to break. I think like Sizzler's Mama or something like that, just to pay homage to the women of media in Thank You Mama. That's what I'm going to play. I'm going to play that. You know? Going into the break, we're going to play Thank You Mama. Thank you for all the women that also played a role in the pioneering of media in Bermuda. We'll be back right after this with our final segment with Dr. Dana Celeste. Right after this.
Reaching out to all the mothers in the world. Sometimes it's just the way things are to be, yeah.
Thank you, Mama, for the 9 months you carried me through. All those pain and suffering. No one knows the pressure you bear, just only you. Give you all my love, oh yeah. Thank you, Mama, for the 9 months you carried me through. All those pain and suffering. No one knows the pressure you bear, just only you. It's my words and my uttering. Mama, I will never let you down. I'll never go away. I'll always be around. You know why you do it, such love that you found. I'm always gonna let you wear that crown. Through the roughest of times, you maintain your calm towards your only end, while sheltering me from the storm. And when it's cold, you wrap me in a towel so warm. Oh ma, I'm so glad I was born. Thank you, Mama, for the night.
With Nari Bashir. Nari, yeah, before the break, during the break, we were talking about you're not so ashamed of too much.
No. Life is what it is.
You know, at one point, it was almost like at one point, I must admit, but it was in more growing up that I was ashamed that I came from a bucket and 2 rooms.
Yeah.
In a sense, like, you know, and it was more about that in the neighborhood because like some people had toilets and others didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that it's like outside it didn't kind of matter. It was more about like who you were really connected to.
Yeah.
You know, that was my thing when you said that word shame. Yeah, let's talk about your schooling and you did tell me a bit about going to school one time.
Yeah.
And I think not had you looking at your school record. Talk to me about that.
So no, I was actually about a couple months ago, maybe a little bit more than that. My wife and I, my mom, she's really good at keeping records, and so she has this book where she kept all of my report cards from when I was a kid. And I was reading them, you know, and all of them said the same thing. Nori talks too much. Nori talks too much. Bright kid, talks too much. Talks too much. But one of them was a note that had come home that said, Nori came in today and he said that he was tired. And I asked him whether or not he had done his homework. And Nori said he hadn't done his homework because he didn't knock off until 10 o'clock. So I mean,
they didn't report your mom at that time.
No.
Like they didn't report.
That
It's like
wasn't a thing.
what-
That wasn't a thing. Social services and all that, they dealt with different issues. Working hard wasn't an issue back
you
then.
you know yeah, it's expected.
It was expected.
What you mean you're out with the cows? Of course you were milking cows
Yeah, you're not
5:30 in
gonna
the
tan,
morning.
but that means you should get up early to do your homework.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's not an excuse. I still got written up. You know?
Still got written up. You know, when we talk about growing up, let's talk about your schooling a bit. Let's talk about your journey into schooling. From what I understand, you did a transition from the neighborhood school to
private school, yeah.
right to public and then private. Let's talk about that journey and your experience rolling through that and the difference.
Okay, yeah. So I started out at Delwood Primary School. I didn't do too much of nursery school. I went to Nambour, but you know that wasn't a requirement back then. So
What's that mean, Nambour?
Nambour was the name of the
Nambour.
nursery school.
Okay, because I was
My
like,
parents pulled me out of that for some reason, so I went straight into public school, into primary school. So I went to primary school, Delwood. We live right next door to it, actually, where the church is now. where
Yes.
the Salvation Army is.
Yes.
That used to be a hill called Lilybank, and we
Yes.
used to live across the street from Delwood.
That's right.
So went to Delwood in my younger years, and you know I grew up around. I mean, basically, I grew up around Baccaton, a ton rat, as everybody would call us back then, which to me is a stroke of coming from a place of character. And then I went on to Berkeley Institute, so I did well in the stay nines that we used to have back then.
Okay,
which you did
yes, the
well.
11 plus
Yeah,
sort of thing. You did the 11 plus thing? Were you one of the last of the?
Yeah, it was one of the last groups.
One of the last groups.
Last groups.
Jeez.
Yep,
Okay.
And I made it into Berkeley.
Now, did you have a legacy of Berkeley? Meaning, were anybody else in your family? Did other people in your family go to Berkeley?
Well, my sister went to Berkeley. Yeah, my older sister.
Okay.
So I went to Berkeley. I did my first, second, and third year in Berkeley. But then towards my third year, I started to get into a lot of fights and a lot of trouble at school.
Really? Why was that? You think?
I think mainly because I had this thing where I really didn't take, coming from a family of 9, people picking on me or people, you know, trying to take advantage of people around me wasn't a thing that I really stood for. My oldest brother was 16 years older than me. So I was used to getting beat up, right? So that wasn't an issue for me, right? And so, you know, I'd gotten a lot of trouble with older kids, you know, that would try to take dominance or you know, try to do things, and I just wouldn't have it.
No, I wasn't having it.
I didn't fall for status quo.
Not mild mannered. Not mild mannered at all.
No, no. And so luckily, I think he was the deputy head principal at the time, Mr. Smith. He's a cousin of mine, and he called my parents in. I had gotten into a fight where I had punched a teacher in the face, and he called my parents in. And he said, "Look, this is spiraling downhill, and unless you guys do something right now, this is not gonna end well for Nori."
Okay.
So with that in mind, my parents made the decision to to pull me out of the school.
Really?
Yeah, to pull me out of Berkeley and send me to Salters.
And that was and that was based on just behavioral.
Purely behavioral. My educationally, I was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never had bad grades, but the social side started to get a little too hectic, and I think that it was a really pivotal time, and the decision obviously came at a financial burden to my parents, and so I truly appreciate that they made that decision, because I think it made a big difference.
A big difference.
A huge difference.
Right, right. Because if scholastically you're jamming and you're doing what you need to do scholastically.
Yeah.
But if you got this physical distraction.
Yeah.
Right. Then you're right. I mean, it could have turned you into a completely different beast,
Completely
isn't
different.
it?
Completely
Wow.
different. Yeah.
Wow. Now,
so
go ahead.
The difference being, and so I guess your original question, moving into the private, when I went to Salters, like going into a classroom, and I was used to being a joker and having fun and all that kind of stuff. Got there, and you try to crack jokes in class, and students be telling you to be quiet, and so it's a completely different environment.
Interesting.
Right? And so like the distractions that you would typically have in a classroom, or that I had in classrooms before, that I would create in classrooms, because I don't think that it was innate to the classrooms, were kind of removed. And then I spent a long time, my first year I spent in pre-detention. I don't even know what you call that, but basically they made me come to school early to do my homework and do all of that kind of stuff prior to the lessons of, the daily lessons.
Really?
Largely because of the social side, right? So they made me do additional time at the school to be able to kind of stick up, or to keep up with the educational requirements.
Really?
Yeah.
And they identified that how?
Because I wasn't doing my homework when I first came in, and I was getting in trouble because I was trying to talk in class, and all of that kind of stuff. And then the disciplinary teachers, they basically said, no, we can't have this here, and said, you got to come in an hour or 45 minutes, I think it was 45 minutes earlier than the rest of the students. We're going to check your homework. We're going to make sure that everything's done. If your homework isn't done, you're going to do your homework in the morning. And in the afternoons, you'll stay with us in the afternoons.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a larger commitment.
Got you.
Educationally.
And that kind of pulled you in. That zoned you in?
It pulled me in. There was a lot of rebellion in pulling me in the sense that I felt singled out, to a certain extent. But when you start to look at these things in hindsight, it all makes sense. You understand what I mean? At the time, there's pain, just like going in and working at the laundromat.
Right.
At the time, it doesn't feel like this is a good thing. But then when you look back in hindsight and you say, okay, well, I actually graduated with pretty good grades, and I pulled off what would be an exceptional, university career and all that kind of stuff.
And just put that back for a second, because when you even start talking about being picked on, you're in a predominantly white environment.
Yeah.
Your parents are your parents are, how are they've got to look at this and sort of say, nah, these guys, what was the conversation like at home?
My first day, I mean, and I don't hold too many punches about it. My first day, I walked into school and I had a pair of shoes on. And in Barclay, we used to wear baggy pants and baggy shirts, and used to wear your tie.
Because by this time you're in the 90s, right?
Yes, you'd be in the 90s at this point in time. So this is my 4th year in high school. So baggy pants, baggy shirts, and I used to have a tie, keep the tie fat at the top, and and it was too loose, it didn't really pull it in. And I remember one of the teachers, I won't name him just because,
but of course,
shame him. But one of the teachers pulled me aside as soon as I walked in, like within minutes, pulls me aside and said, hey, look, we don't really care for this look, right? And if this is you, then you don't belong in this school, right? And and I'll make it a mission of mine to ensure that you never return to this school if this is your look. So he sent me home, right? So I went to my parents and I said, look, these guys are racist, right?
These guys are racist.
Right? I said, went back, and my mom said, well, what type of shoes did they say you had to have? Right? He said, all right, I said, you have to have these types of shoes, and you have to wear this type of pants, and you have to wear this type of shirt, and you have to wear a tie like this. So my mom took me down.
Straight.
Bought me a new pair of shoes, got me a new pair of pants. Got me a new shirt.
Straight
my tie up.
Straight.
And send me in. Right? And so that was it,
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
That was the approach to it. The approach was, you know what? The other school that you were in, Barclay, was great in terms of maybe the social side of things. You will have social issues going into this school. But the violence and all the other things that you are participating in don't exist in this school, and we prefer for you to not have to partake in that, and whatever you need to do to be able to get on a path that's going to allow you to purely focus on education, we're going to make sure that happens. So they never took into my my complaints of being singled out or whatnot. And when you look at it now, it makes sense. You know, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Hindsight, you know, like once again, it's just like growing up. I mean,
Exactly.
that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
So you move on through this. How did you find your path now? Because one, you now you've socially readjusted.
Socially
right?
readjusted.
Yeah, you've socially readjusted.
Yeah.
What came out of the social readjustment? Type of friends you would keep, type of people you wouldn't normally be necessarily hanging around, especially coming from Backerton,
Yeah.
North Hamilton, Delwood.
So I had an interesting experience in that I lived in Backerton, but I went Saltis, right? And so I never had the opportunity to not connect with people from my neighborhood because I lived with them, right? And so it wasn't a case where I didn't, or I removed people from my life. What happened was more people were included into my life. And so if you see me now, I still connect on both sides, like equally, you know? So there's a differentiation in, I guess, what they might consider decorum, but I've included, like I have a wide sphere, which I don't think a lot of people have the opportunity or have had the opportunity of having. So I have the opportunity. Some of my friends come from the most wealthy families in Bermuda, and from most wealthy American families, and then some of my friends, poor and struggling. You know what I mean? And so I mean I know everything and everything in between.
Do you sometimes look at it and sort of look at where we are now and what we become? Because if it wasn't for education, would you been straddling the social divide of Bermuda, and is that something that is just in this? It's not in the social scene, because you're a younger guy, so you could speak to this. But is it not in the social scene today, or is it, as people say, nobody really cares? Because you're saying that not too many people have this opportunity now.
Yeah, I think that so I think your question probably has two parts to it, right? First part being, are there social issues in Bermuda? And the answer is yes. I mean, like, you'd be blind to not see that.
Right.
Right? If you walk into certain neighborhoods, like if you walk out the street, you'll see that there are certain people that don't have as much as other people. If you walk down another street, you see that some people have a lot, right? And there's a huge plethora of people that exist in the middle of that. But social issues exist in this island, and they fall on racial lines and also financial class lines. And so I don't think that that's something that doesn't exist.
Right.
But education, I think education allows a kind of, I guess, a breaking to a certain extent of that middle ground. I still think that there's a lot of ceiling at the top end of things, but where education allows, specifically young black individuals, you see, like, a lot of my peer group, they, good friend of mine is like counsel, legal counsel for Excel. Good friend of mine is like, top guy at KPMG. Good friend of mine's top guy at ASW Law. And you look and you say, well, education has allowed for young individuals to become the top in their field. And I would say that education allowed me to be able to kind of excel to the point where I'm at now.
Oh boy, we're gonna take a little break. When we come back, we're gonna find out how Nari found his purpose. How did he choose what school he was gonna go to and what he was gonna study? Yes, I'll tell you how I did mine one time, but I heard yours. I think it's gonna be probably a little bit better. Now you like a little tune, so I'm gonna let you pick the tune. What tune you gonna pick up, Nari?
Well, me, I'm Bermuda, so you gotta put a little general caution on for me,
A little caution?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's pull up some caution there. I know we got some caution around here somewhere. Where's my caution going to? General caution. We'll pull him up right there. General caution.
Yeah, your boy's music's fire.
Oh, boy. Caution. Here we go. Here he is, right there. General caution. I'm gonna run that Hustler Baby.
Yeah.
That's the one that's burning up right now, right?
Track's on fire.
Here we go, Hustler Baby, brought to you
by Nari Bashir. One time. Bust it with fire.
I'm a hustler, baby, from a hustler father. Man, I run to the comma, see girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us, see young girls a clap for your carter. A hustler, baby, from a hustler father. Man, I run to the comma, see girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us, me not in a no long talk, in a room with me boss man. Me tell you be cautious, the man a bang you for caution. The party he told them, me niggas on the right, and I in a no long talking. That girl think she want me, now she feeling the cocky. Now she feeling me cocky, so give me the nani. You ain't flinging it for me, well then bring it from home. Me, her friend come around me. At the end of the night like the cushy was screaming so loudly, so bring it the broading. One stay till the morning, y'all which driver you calling? The 295 or the hitch was the 292 is the longest, plus I got work in the morning. It was a mad thing anyway, you are all skin blood. I'm a hustler, baby, from a hustler father. Wanna run to the comma, see girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us, see young girls a clap for your carter. A hustler, baby, from a hustler father. Wanna run to the comma, see girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us, me not in a no long talking. And the murder on me mind right now, but see the shellings them a fly right now. Offy get a red or the 9 right now. Go fi mine beer money on a mine right now. If I stop blow the limelight yo, if I no general the shine right now. Beer mine on a crime right now. Beer life on a line right now. If a pussy want breathe me, fuck it go breathe me. If I get me I want me, fuck it so easy. No cannibal I study them can't come eat me. Late night with the creeping, begging up tree said I was on my one city tra-la-la-la, smoking la-la-la-loud. I was on my one city tra-la-la-la, I was smoking loud. Hustler, from a hustler father. Man I run to the commas, now the girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna arm us, the youngest a clap for your carter. Me tell them any man wanna arm us. Say we not in that no long talking. Pussy tell them again, say not run with me boss man. Me tell you be caution, say them man a bang you for caution. The party he told them, me niggas on the right. And I in that no long talking, but girl think they want me. She feeling the cocky, now she feeling the cocky, so give me the nani. You ain't flinging it for me, well then bring it from around me. Her friend come around me. At the end of the night like the cushy was screaming so loudly, so we bring the blood thing. And stay till the morning, which cab driver you call it? The 295 or the hitch, cause the 292 is the longest, plus I got work in the morning. And it was a mad thing anyway, you asking bitch, I'm a hustler. From a hustler father, man I run to the comma, the girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us, the youngest a clap for a carton. The hustler baby, from the hustler fathers, man I run to the comma, the girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna harm us. Oh no, oh no, oh no hustler. For the hustling babies and the hustling fathers. Run and go to them dollars and go to them dollars. Man, I make all them squalors. Man, I work out the waters and mud thing. Mud. Tell them again from a hustler baby, from a hustler father. Man, I run to the commas, the girl wanna swarm us. Any man wanna roam us, the young ones are glad we are gone. A hustler baby.
Ah boy.
Man, I run to the commas, the girl wanna swarm us.
Production people know about hustle.
At the end of the night like the cushy was screaming so loudly, so we bring the blood in. And stay till the morning, which cab driver you call it?
Nari pulling up this big tune.
Hey, sing the one there for me. Hustler baby, I'm a hustler.
Them boys, once again, pull up. You know, that's how we do it. We're in here with Nari Bashir.
Yeah.
Nari, obviously, we talked a little bit about even in getting into production, and I was saying, have you done any music videos yet?
No, I haven't done any of the music videos. I really think that there's some really young, talented guys out there that are pulling off some amazing work. Like that Hustler Baby video, I think, and I kind of touched into it.
Yeah.
I think it opened a lot of people's eyes up as to what exists in Bermuda. You know, so I mean, I remember, you know, one of the guys in my building popped up to me and was like, "Yo, man, you seen this video yet? I didn't even know half these places exist in Bermuda. Did they shoot some of this down Jamaica or somewhere?" I was like, "No, man, that's people's backyards right there.
Oh, boy.
That's all Bermuda, you know." So it opened people's eyes up to the fact that not everything is Front Street and pretty, right? But just because it's not Front Street and pretty doesn't mean that it's not cool.
Ah, boy.
Which is kind of
interesting.
You know, the eye-opening piece. you
Yeah.
know?
But when did you decide? No, because you're in Saltus, which most people look at, well, especially at that time, it would just be considered academia. You're said to be the underwriter, accountant, business earner. I'm not even sure business owner, but underwriter, and you know the more academic side of the the pen and paper. In these years now, you could see that the technical side, they're not caring whether you hold a pen. It's how much money you're going to make.
Yeah.
You know,
fair play,
basically at the end of the day now, right? It's
Yeah,
like, hey,
that's
can you
dollars
develop
and
that
cents.
software?
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah. That's bottom line management, right?
For you, what was it for you now? Because you're in academia, you had some IQ on you.
Yeah.
What was it that steered you to your path?
Okay, but this is gonna be a long story. Might have a couple breaks in between this one.
Well, got it. Go for it.
So basically, I went to Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I got in and I took 9 GCSEs at the time. That was kind of a standard for us at Saltus.
Okay.
Which I mean, like I think that they had kind of diminished that standard at some of the public institutions. In that there was like you're taking 3 and 4 maybe. But I graduated with 9 GCSEs, went on to Saltus, went on to Dalhousie, and I took a degree in English with the intention to go and work and do law over in the UK.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was the intention. But when I finished my degree, I came back to the island and I actually applied for a job at Conyers Dillon Perman law firm.
Okay.
They didn't have any jobs in the legal side. So they actually hired me in the human resources side, which basically allowed me to be able to speak with and interact with lawyers and people in that field. I spent 2 years at Conyers Dillon Perman, and I worked along with a lot of different lawyers, and I basically decided that wasn't my that wasn't my path. No, yeah. And so I left Conyers Dillon Perman, and I was offered a job at HSBC. I started in sales floor supervisory position at HSBC. And then I quickly moved from sales floor supervisor to product manager, which is basically, I guess, you basically do a bit of finance, a bit of sales, it's mixed. You build products. So when people talk about the mortgage price going up, or they talk about the deposit prices going up, and they needed somebody to blame for that, that person would have been me. And so HSBC provided a great platform for understanding big business, right? And understanding how the mechanics of money work. But at the end of the day, I was kind of conflicted in the sense that exactly what I just explained. My job was specifically to find, to increase revenues for the bank. Which when you think about a bank and you think about the public, that generally, unless it's a high interest environment, that generally, the more money the bank makes, the more money people pay out.
Right.
Right. So it's either you're making more money off deposits and people are making less money, like the public is making less money on deposits, or you're paying more money on loans.
Okay.
Right. So there's this give and take, and so basically for me, I wanted to change and do something where every time I spoke to people, that they were happy with what I was doing, as opposed to every time I spoke to people they had questions or what do you mean this is going up? Why is it going up? Every time I walk down the street, I was fearing for my life. grew up in the shoe, you know, and then fearing for my life in Tom, and people be seeing the mortgage rates go up or whatnot.
Yeah, you weren't the guy.
No, I weren't the guy, right? Or I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so at the age of 30, I left the bank. I put in my notification, and my business partner, Andrew Kirkpatrick, my current business partner, he had started Burnt House Productions maybe like 6 or 7 years prior. And we had been talking, and I really like photography, and said, you know, we guys should link up and try to like take on production somehow.
Okay.
You know, from a professional perspective, right? We looked around and we said, you know what? Every time there's a campaign for a company, they hire foreign people to do it. You know, so like Bermuda Tourism, at that time before the BTA came into effect, you know, you would see like they had international people that come in to shoot campaigns or whatnot, and you know, large entities, they were using international people. And Andrew and I said, you know what, with your skill set and my skill set, if we practice and we really put together something spectacular from the production side, we could really go in and provide a Bermudian service that parallels what is coming from abroad.
Okay.
Right? And so that was our aim, and that's what we did, and it took us a bit of time to get there, but yeah, I mean, that's currently what we do. We shoot high-end campaigns.
So you, in terms of your partner, so basically what you did was you brought the business environment to the team, or did you go back and study, or did you, or like
well,
what happened?
I was finishing my master's in business at the time.
Okay.
So I have a master's in an MBA.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that I bought the business element. I think that would take away from the business sense that my business partner actually has.
Right.
He's a brilliant guy. I think what happened was that, you know, Captain Planet, when he says, when our powers combine,
okay.
Right? You know, like, so Andrew, you know, Andrew, he had a brilliant mind, and he was trying to figure his way. To me, I have, you know, a good mind, and I was trying to find my way. And we brought our two minds together,
right,
and said we can tackle this with two heads combined, right, and try to.
Now you were schoolmates?
We went to Salters together.
So you went to Salters together.
Yeah. We actually went to Salters together.
Okay.
We weren't friends in Salters, as in like we didn't hang out.
Okay.
We also went to Dalhousie at the same time.
Wow.
We weren't friends in Dalhousie. We never hung out in Dalhousie.
Right.
But
interesting.
When I was finishing up at the bank.
Interesting.
His sister is the godmother to my sister's son, my younger sister's son.
Okay.
And so we had that common connection. So I think somehow we came together because of that and started talking. I was like, yeah, I like your ideas. And he was like, yeah, man, I like your ideas. And maybe we should bring these ideas together and start something.
Wow. So, and before that point, did you have a, I mean, what was your creative? What was what was your juice in the game? I mean,
so
like
I think
before that point, like what were you doing that indicated you were creative or wanted to be a part of that process?
So photography has always been an outlet.
Okay.
I wasn't always good at it, you know. And,
Fair enough.
I think good is a function of practice, right?
That's the truth.
And studying.
That is the truth.
So that was always a creative. I always enjoyed photography, right? And when Instagram came about, that was like, oh my God, yeah, I've got this cool platform where I can use to be able to put out images and get feedback instantly from people and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So on the creative side, the photography has been an outlet for me for a while. But on the business side, I think that like the perfect mix on the creative side is when creative and business can actually coincide. And I think that for a lot of creatives, the struggle is being fully engaged in creativity and not engaged on the business side.
Yes.
So I think luckily for Andrew and I, we're both kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? So we can both look at things from a very, very business, like process side, right? So working in the bank and doing process management, doing product management, financial analysis, and all that kind of stuff. And then also on the other side, my release being photography, there's kind of two opposing pieces that coincide together. If you understand what I mean?
I must admit, when I first came aware of Burnt House,
yeah,
I said, who's this Burnt House production company, right? Because I hadn't really seen a production company, let's say, really forms really after Panatel, right? And my company, Fresh, was actually the next major production company after Panatel, because it's Panatel, then it was Fresh.
Yeah.
There was Cedar Berries actually that actually was right. They were a group. I think it was not Michael Scott. I think it was one of this guy, Mr. Scott, Rotimi Martins, and
yes.
These guys had a company called Cedar Berry.
Okay.
Right, and Rotimi, shout out to you guys.
See, I know Rotimi Jr.
You know Rotimi Jr. Look at that.
We went sold this together.
Jacobs, man. Look at this small world. Yeah. And then seeing Brenthouse come up as a production company, he's saying, hey, wait a minute, there's something happening there.
Yeah.
In terms of a group of people getting together. Yeah. When I started with my and I also was attracted to the fact that you were a black Bermudian and a white Bermudian. Yeah. Right. Which is also how Fresh started. Okay. Well, how Fresh became the Fresh had become a team like that.
Yeah.
Which my partner was Peter Backerberg.
Okay, got you.
Right.
Got you.
And so we had these dynamics.
Some similar backgrounds.
Well, I mean, but we met at ZBM.
Yeah.
So it was a different thing. Different time. Mm-hmm. In terms of the challenges of being these two culturally different people. I didn't go to private school.
Yeah.
So different, even though I had access.
Yeah.
Like that. I didn't go to that private school like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I didn't go to that school like that.
Yeah.
I didn't spend huge amounts of time, but I was in the environment.
Yeah.
With you and having the partner, what's that dynamic like for you? Has it been more influence coming from the outside? Do you find about it? Has that touched you in any way?
I mean, I think you might have to clarify what you mean by influences from the outside.
Influences on you being together as partners in a country that is physically, socially, economically got a very strain on its social fabric.
Got you. Okay, cool. So, right? Andrew and I, we just get along, like, you know what I mean? We bounce ideas off each other. I don't think I've ever really been mad at Andrew. And even though we come from different backgrounds, there's this piece that we cross over. Obviously, we both went to the same schools, and we both have some of the same experiences. And so there's a lot of similarities in the sense that we know each other well. We understand kind of, the differences, but the differences are what kind of make us, I guess, like a power team, right? Because we can bounce ideas off each other, and I can say to Andrew, hey, wait, you can't do that there, because, that might offend some people or whatnot. And then he can look at me and say, no, we got to take it to this level right here, because these people ain't going to watch it if you put that in there, right?
Okay.
And so it's like a happy medium where we can actually it's what you actually want in corporate environment, right? You want people from different backgrounds to bounce ideas off each other to be able to come up with the best solution. Where I think that the challenge being in environments where that's not encouraged, where it's like you want people that all look the same to all work together, right? And then you have a very siloed perspective on things, where I think that where we kind of have our strength is that without holding any punches, we can empower and or shut down ideas, because it's like, we can both look at things from different perspectives.
Right. At one point when I read, one of the things that struck me why I asked that question is because one of the things that from my side, there were blacks that were like, the only reason why you're getting where you're going is because you have a white partner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, geez, you're going to diminish me. Like what's my value? Like, what's my value? And that was back then. I'm just curious, like,
so the funny thing is that I would hear that on my side, and then Andrew would hear, or people would say, yeah, man, well, the only reason you're going to get through with this government or that there is because you got a black guy working with you or whatnot. So it's like, you win, you can't win that argument, right? There's no sides everybody, depending on what side they're looking from, it's gonna say you're only getting it because of that. You're only getting it because of that. Right. When the reality is that you're only gonna get stuff if you work really hard for it. and if you see past some of the bureaucracy that we put in front of our own eyes, right? And so I think that what people see as the challenges, I see as strengths sometimes. And I don't really take on too much of that where people have negative things to say. But I have heard it, you know what I mean? It's not something, I'm not deaf. And I think that it's funny because you hear it coming equally from different sides, but saying the same thing, and both erroneously.
Exactly. It's not to say it's definitely not happening on both sides. It's just two different perspectives. And I can't remember talking a lot with my partner about it at the time because I sort of like just took it on.
Yeah.
Didn't want to like talk
No,
about
we talk
it.
about it, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but you know, I'm in, you know, just in the 90s where, you know, it was sort of one of those things where we talked about stuff earlier on, but in terms of what I was getting from my community, and then only realizing what he was getting from his community when we split up.
Yeah, got you.
That's when what he was getting from his community sort of hit me.
Yeah, both of us just have a laugh.
You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, it's just.
But I was just curious about that in terms of, you know, growing up in, and you know, and sometimes a lot of people have talked about, hey, you know, it's best you go, or it's best you go.
We go together. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is like, I think when you're competent at something, or if you know what you're doing, people will listen to you. I don't know. I mean, like.
I never had to do that.
Yeah, I feel like.
But I found out afterwards that's what people would tell me.
Yeah.
When we split up.
When I worked in HSBC, and one of the things that opened my eyes to that was, you know, we had an African guy that was the financial controller for my department. We had a Spanish guy that did the IT. We had a French guy that, what was he, on the finance side. We had Bermudian guy running the insurance side. We had, I mean, so when everyone came together, the best ideas or some of the great ideas came out, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
for
so
real.
To me, you know, just because somebody was of a specific ethnic background, it doesn't discount their intelligence, right? It's either you got a good idea or you got a bad idea, and if you give the platform for that person to be heard, then, you know, good ideas will proceed.
Truly, truly, indeed. I'm got a little clip here. I got to show some. I'm going to show how the early Falling Off the Rock, when I looked up Burnt House.
Yeah.
This is like 2009.
Oh, yeah.
2009. Now, how long you been in existence as a team?
So we would have formed as a team 4 years ago. So yeah, so this is well in advance of the
this is early. Now, is this still a part of the foreign team that will come down and do the jumping? Because at one point I knew there was a foreign team that did the jumpers.
So these are the original Falling Off the Rock gang.
Okay.
There were a couple people that had come down that were foreign. It wasn't many. Most of the jumpers were Bermudian. But when the video had hit, I think 2 million hits, it was when it was that Bermudian international collaboration that kind of pushed it out into the global sphere.
Okay. So this right here, just for understanding, because I never got it.
Yeah.
This right here is an indigenous local product.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
And then the brand went into the international realm.
Yeah. There was a connection with a really cool guy, and he's been back to Bermuda a ton of times. Mike Wilson, and his, you know, an avid skateboarding or ice skate.
Skateboarder?
No, not boarding.
Snowboarding.
Snowboarding. Yeah, avid snowboarder. And so he came out to the island to do some stunts or whatnot, and the connection of him and the Bermudian guys filmed it, made it what it was, like, so this international success.
Yeah, I thought
it's been mimicked around the world now, you know.
Exactly. Now, do you guys get a chunk of that?
No. No chunk.
No, that's what I'm.
Father jumping days.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you know, it made me actually think about it in a level that said that it was a Bermuda brand, but then I've seen all these, like I see these international people coming in and taking, you know, and taking a piece of that.
Yeah, I don't know if they, I mean, for this specific one, you know, like international people have come and done a number of different things on their
Right.
own accord.
Right.
But for this specific one, this was this was purely local. The one
It's
that we're
purely
watching
local.
now. And then the one that kind of went into major success was a local international
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the
Pure
pure local.
Yeah, my boy Evan.
But look at it now. I mean, today, you know, everybody's looking at this as a part of tourism.
Yeah.
Right? The excitement, the extreme side of what you could do
Yeah,
in Bermuda.
tourism. Yeah, exactly.
Adventure tourism, right? I mean, before it was like, you know, don't jump off the rocks.
Yeah.
Leave the rocks alone.
I think it's tourism is getting so much better because the taking what exists and telling the world about it, right? And so we've been jumping off the rocks for years. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, we didn't go down to Horseshoe Bay that much. I lived in town. We went to Admiralty House, like, you know, we walked down to Admiralty House, we jumped off the rocks and we walked home in wet shoes. You know, that's what we did.
True.
So it's cool to see foreign people coming and enjoying that. You know, it's a great thing, and I think that's a stark difference from what tourism used to promote in the past.
For real. I mean,
Yeah.
you yourself, are you considered a millennial?
I am.
In the context of
I am a millennial. Yeah, I
right?
think I'm right on the cusp. right on the cusp.
Right on the cusp.
I fall within the millennial group. But my wife, she says I'm old, you know. So.
Oh boy, she got you on the edge. She got
Yeah,
you on the edge. She's not trying to have you claim that extreme
Yeah,
side,
exactly,
I guess.
yeah, no,
Let me go out there doing all that crazy
No, I'm
jumping
not
and all
jumping
that.
off no rocks. So, you know, I'm doing footers.
Yeah. You know, so as you're seeing your production company spawn and grow, what has been the most difficult side to growing production in this environment and doing what you would like to do? Are you contributing to the social contacts? Are you contributing to just say, hey, we're just grinding because we got to just do this work?
Yeah.
What has it been like for you to grow this company?
So I'll answer it like in like most things in two parts.
Yeah.
Right. So you asked about the difficulty.
Yes.
Right. And then like what's the experience?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the difficulty has really been obviously the learning curve, going from just holding cameras to actually running a business to make money from holding cameras. And then also in conjunction with that, the how do you put it, like the tipping point. So in terms of talent within the production realm, there are very few people that do it full time, because the financial tipping point is very, it's not easy to make it to a point where you can live off of it. So the majority of people that do photography and film work full time, and then they do photography/film as a part-time business. And so when you're trying to do a production that's going to go from Monday through Thursday, then finding people that can kind of jump in and work and know the industry and can get into it is very difficult, right? Because of that whole part-time nature for the majority of people. So I think that scalability is one of the biggest challenges, because there aren't a ton of full-time freelancers like what you have in New York and other places. You don't have that in Bermuda as much. So that's a big challenge.
And now the experiential side of that question.
Yeah. So the experiential side, I think a bit of luck and a lot of what you might call it like faith, that might be the best word for it. A bit of luck. When Andrea and I kicked off, we met this guy. He called us up randomly, and he wanted to shoot a commercial in Bermuda. He wouldn't tell us what it was. And so, you know, he asked us to sign some non-disclosure agreements before we got into it. So it was like, this must be pretty big, you know? And and so we signed non-disclosure agreements, and then he basically called us up and said, hey, look, I'm coming to shoot a commercial for Apple, right? And we were like, oh, wow, that's huge, right? And so he flew down, and he's like, look, do you guys have a crane? Do you have box trucks? Do you have this? And you have that? And you have this? I need transportation. I need 20 people to do this. And I'm sitting down with this guy, and I'm like, what are you, like, where are you going with this? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is off the hook, the amount of stuff that you're asking for. It's like, we need food, we need catering, we need all of these different elements. And so sat down with him, and we worked everything out. I think we sat down for about 3-4 days, and we put together this whole call sheet / production sheet. And that opened both my eyes and Andrew's eyes. So like, this is huge, this can be huge. And there are people that spend their time just organizing this kind of stuff.
That's right.
And those people are producers, right? So when somebody says, I'm a producer, for the most part, they just organize things, or they put all the pieces together for the creatives to be able to implement the creative side. So we were lucky in that him coming down, like, and this was in like the first week of me leaving HSBC.
Okay.
Right, so it was just sheer luck.
Yeah, that you get a product that could pull together.
It was a project that pulled together, and this huge production.
Right.
And we worked with an award-winning cinematographer. This guy had done Gravity. His name is Chivo. And so we got to see like this amazing person at work, and also like all of the production that goes on behind it. And so that gave us like, it opened our eyes up to what the challenge was for us to be able to say that we could operate on a level that was similar to what foreign people could, because we got like tossed into the biggest kind of production right away.
Wow.
Which was really cool, and
it takes your experience level.
It was like through the
from
roof.
0 to
what we
60.
were planning relative to like what we end up getting shown was like there was a huge gap between it.
Right.
And so, and even the documentation and the process and all that kind of stuff, it really, really, really allowed for us to be able to kind of leapfrog into a position to be able to do production.
Yeah, because at the international level, at the local level, hugely you don't have to function that way.
No.
I mean, it did the same for my company.
Yeah.
Working with the foreigners just keeps pushing you and pushing you on, and then it helps you to do these things more efficiently on the local level.
Exactly.
With the smaller stuff, because you're watching. These guys got loads of money, but they're watching every penny.
Yeah, every cent.
Every cent,
there's nothing
and you got to
that goes
justify.
unaccounted for. Yeah, no,
like
there's nothing that goes
crazy.
unaccounted for.
And
I think that and one of the benefits of America's Cup was that I saw a number of people in production that were getting like thrown right into the depths of they're working with international people. They got like specific requirements to be able to implement things, and so I think that coming into this year we're kind of better off in the production realm because there's a lot more
experience,
industry knowledge.
Yeah.
But from that experience with a company was called Epic Films. I think that allowed us, and also the formation of the Bermuda Tourism Authority at the time. And to me, and this is my opinion, they started to look at things from a more homegrown perspective, as opposed to like a siloed perspective, which I think existed before. So they would ask questions about, like, what do you guys think? And we came in at around the same time. Like, we started at the same time as the BTA. And so the falling off the rock kind of stuff, like the jumping off the rocks and going to art mills and all these types of things were all conversations that we were all having at the same time. And so the tourism that you see now is largely a product of us all growing together to a certain extent.
Interesting. How big is the company now? How many staff members do you have now?
It's Andrew and I are the full-time staff members.
Still full-time core.
Like throughout the year. So for example, I'll be shooting a campaign a little bit later this year, and we'll probably have 25 people that are going to be working on that production. So maybe 5-6 times a year, we'll have productions where we'll have to scale up to the amount of 25, 30 people.
What would you like to see from a, let's say from helping a growth industry? One of my goals when I came into production, and I've seen it, I thought we were on a growth of the industry.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you're saying, along comes the DV cam, and
Yeah.
it changes the whole perspective on
Really changed it, yeah.
right. And I told somebody, I said, when I got my first DV camera, it's right down there, and it's like, this is going to change the face of, you don't need nobody hanging around you to do this. And so all of a sudden I start seeing it reel back. What are some of the things that you would like to maybe see from a governmental side of assistance to assist production in the country? Is there anything that you looked at, from taxes to budgets to is there anything that you've sort of said, hey man, I wish we guys could have a look at this, because this would help us grow, or this would alleviate? I mean, we know taxes is something that,
I mean, anything where you can save money is always a good thing.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right.
so the taxes issue, I think for me, there's kind of this gift and curse as it relates to government and taxes and all that kind of stuff. I see that infrastructurally, we as a country, we need roads paved, we
Right.
need trash picked up, we need all these things. And if we go into a less tax environment, then there's less money to be able to do the fundamental things that keep the island as beautiful as it is. So I'm not one that always looks for less taxes and all those kinds of things. I think that maybe more education on stuff would be better than less taxes. I think there's people well paid in government to kind of look at the books and try to figure out what can be done, and what should be done. And I trust them to do their job. They're voted in and whatnot. But from my perspective, I think that there's an educational piece that I think that a lot of people that would like to get in the industry should have, without having to kind of go into debt to get it, there's a requirement for like production assistance. Now, what does a production assistant do? A production assistant can be somebody that takes SD cards or information and puts it onto a computer and sorts it out, so that when you come and look at all that kind of stuff later on, it's all set up for you and it's done. Or that's kind of on the digitech side. Production assistant can also be someone that runs coffers back and forth between different departments or teams on a shoot, right?
Yeah.
And that requires a level of decorum, because people are going to ask you to go grab a C-stand, or someone's going to ask you to grab a boom arm, or someone's going to ask you to flag something for them, or someone's going to ask you to hold a scrim for them, or someone's, and so you have to have a bit of knowledge to be able to say, okay, I'll grab this scrim while I'm running around for this or that or whatnot. So I think that the industry knowledge piece would be, if there was some form of a course or a class that could be held, that would be government sponsored, that could get people into the production realm, I think that'd be a good thing. And money well spent.
What about when you're thinking about, I guess, a lot of times in the past when we were coming through, there was always this specific link to ensure that people are working with local production.
Yeah.
I've seen recently loads of people sort of just running around the country just on their own, just teams on their own. There's twofold question to this, is that there's these people coming in.
Yeah.
They're just allowed to just come in and do, and then there's also the intellectual property of the country. And I'll run it back through you guys doing Off the Rocks.
Yeah.
Now, someone now is, you're at the root of Off the Rocks, and some guys come in and they just say, you know what, we're doing a series of Off the Rocks in the country. Brent Charles has nothing to do with it. No local company has nothing to do with it. Do you think there's that space that also needs to be talked about and discovered, those two spaces?
Well, I think that it's kind of, at the end of the day, you have to look at what the objective is, right? And so there's protectionism, and then there's globalism, right?
Okay.
And so, and those things equally have their own merit, right? Now, for tourism, for the last, up until 4 years ago, for the last 10, 15 years, the numbers overall declined, right? And Bermuda's visibility around the world declined, right? And so when you start to talk about things from a protectionist viewpoint, right? Then if your goal is to kind of maintain status quo, then I can understand. If you want pristine rocks, you want things untouched, you know what I mean? Like, then from the protection standpoint, or from that standpoint, then I think that there's a lot of merit to saying, okay, cool, we need to slow down people coming in and doing stuff. But if the goal is to increase the amount of people that come here and the visibility of Bermuda and its culture, then I think you have to kind of allow people to share that, because I might not have the audience of the same people, like, and I'm going to use an outlandish example. I don't have a Chinese following.
Fair enough.
So to be able to hit a Chinese market, if I were to go do it, then you still won't hit a Chinese market.
Fair.
Because I'm an island boy, right? Now, if you have a Chinese influencer, or you have someone come over that's from China, and they do it in Mandarin, they jump off the rocks, and they do their antics as they do it, that kind of, connect with the culture that they come from, then you'll have eyes on Bermuda from a completely different jurisdiction.
Got it.
So that's the globalized perspective of it, right? So to say not to allow people to come in,
no,
I
not
don't
at
think
all.
that's the right answer.
No, of
to
course not.
slow down the amount of people coming in, I don't know that that's the right answer, but I think that there should be a good tracking system and metrics-based system that allows you to be able to see where Bermuda is, how it's being put out there, when people are coming here, like, what is their engagement level, how is this working, so that you can look back at it and say, well, maybe this is working, maybe that isn't working. But without the metrics behind it, or without the information behind it, I think that you're kind of just, putting a finger in there to say whether or not one thing should be done over the other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
So,
go ahead.
so I sit in between, in a nutshell.
Well, because there's a piece about your living.
Yeah.
That has to come into play.
Exactly.
And like in a place like Cuba, you can't just go in and just take away their intellectual property. You can't
Agreed.
just go in there and just shoot, because you sustain that.
Yeah.
So other people can come in and benefit from it, and you should too.
Yes.
One of the things I find is missing in Bermuda is that we don't have a co-production treaty in place.
Okay.
One of the things I had advocated for a long time ago is to bring about a film commission.
Okay.
And this has been since 19.
It's debated, yeah, exactly.
It's long. It's a long time since I put it out there. I know some people are taking it up, but the co-production treaty is something that would allow you to actually negotiate bigger deals with companies that want to come in and shoot things.
Right.
And so it's something for you guys to really be a part of, especially the production team.
Yeah, no,
because
I spent a lot of time researching it, and we did, along with the same guy that had come down originally, who was Matthew Binns from Epic Films. They had written a white paper.
Okay.
They just wrote some information about what they observed. Now, co-production it's a smart idea, but co-production is also precipitated by incentives, right?
Exactly.
So where co-production exists, governments also take tax money and rebate that back to production companies. Now, unless you're looking at, and that comes in the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Where, for example, in certain places, if you come and spend $1 million on a production, the government will give you 25% of your total budget back as a rebate. But where co-production is involved, maybe that nets out to like 15%, but there will still be a payment back to that entity. So the question being is, how far or what do you actually want to achieve? Now, in my view, and this is something, like I said, if it's not metrics based or if it's not research, then there's really it's finger in the air. What level of interest is there to come to the island for large-scale production? So, for example, if you go to Jamaica has like multiple landscapes, and it has multiple areas and huge production facilities and sound stages and all that kind of stuff. And then they also have a rebate system, but they also have a co-production system in place also. So when they're weighing things up, it's going to be a dollars and cents piece. And the question is, where is Bermuda on that attractiveness to be able to bring in large-scale productions?
Right.
And so I think that it's something to be debated. I don't think that there's been an answer that's been put forward that's the correct one as yet.
It's interesting.
But I'd be interested in
yeah, it is interesting because you're seeing it from the taxable deductional side.
Yeah.
And I find that works well for the countries that are usually bigger than Bermuda because they actually get it. The Canada, United States have great treaties going together. Britain and so and you know the European Union
because they're huge,
because they're huge. And then, but here's how I kind of also saw it, where it's more about the mechanism that it could become a financial piece of fundraising into a major film. So they can't do that deal with you. So you have a great idea, because this is the other side of it, right? If you have a great idea, they like it, but you don't have a co-production treaty, so they can't benefit off of doing that business and dumping that money in because you don't have the treaty.
Gotcha.
So you see what I'm saying? Because
no,
each
I hear
country,
where you're coming from,
each country each person benefits from their own treaty.
Yes.
So Canada will do the deal because they know they're going to benefit from their treaty.
Yeah.
The fact that we don't have a treaty, it actually stops a good idea from happening because we don't have a treaty, and then it doesn't give you the opportunity to go raise money.
Yes.
So that's how I experienced the treaty, because I lost out on like 2 major deals like that.
Of course, yeah.
Because I didn't have a treaty,
Yeah.
so I couldn't raise money for a project that would have still been a global project.
No, and I recognize the funding side of things, and the local funding side of things as being a challenge, and I think that there's a lot of work still to be done to be able to kind of address that as an issue, but I think that, and I hate the word but,
you're like me.
The question is, what scale will that attract to be able to make it a viable option for the government, right, and viable option for the community?
Well, and private investors. I mean,
and
you know, you're not looking at government as much.
Exactly.
I think the only thing
but
I would
government has to do legislational piece,
well,
and
the
the
government
taxes
has to do the legislational piece,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't. And we could write our own treaty.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, because we have to write something. I mean, let's face it, Jamaica has it. They're how many dollars to one?
Yeah.
It's more about the attraction of actually getting the financing to come in and creating a equitable partnership that says, hey, we could bring this to the table where we waive it. Just as a matter of right now, we're waiving fees for people who were not a part of a treaty, and we don't have to, but it gets
the spread.
It gets the spread, right?
I think that's
you see what I'm saying?
But that's the trade-off, right? So I think that it's like the trade-off being the people that are currently doing things on a relative scale, it's very small, right? So on a relative scale. So I worked on
Lucinda's
the first movie since the Deep in the island, right? So
what's that, Lucinda?
Baby Moon, yeah.
Okay.
Baby Moon. So Lucinda and Brooke
Right.
Williams. So Brooke Williams was the writer, executive producer. Lucinda was the director, and I was basically the assistant producer on the project. If you look at that film, which used like a ton of Bermudian talent in both the form of acting and also like the people that were on set, that was still a small budget film. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So
agreed.
It's a huge thing for the island. It was like, you know, we had to shut down roads, we had to get permits to use hospitals, and we had to, you know what I mean, like there was a lot of work that had to go into it.
Right.
But on the scale of things, that's still a very small project. And so when you start to talk about large scale, right, like large scale, if you're talking about like feature length movie and all of that kind of stuff that's supposed to, you know, be box office type, then the question is how many of those or how much of that will occur such that it makes sense for the government to kind of back it financially, you know? And I don't know the answer to that.
No,
I think it's a good conversation.
It is. It's the first time I've had a conversation with another person, and it puts it out there because, you know, from the experiential level, I see it. There's a whole bunch of documentaries to be made.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that people could see. Like some guys came here and let's just say they made the Johnny Bonds thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a local thing, but it's our property.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't we be able to leverage those things?
Yeah.
You see, it's so.
I see where you're coming from, but I would say I think that it's our property in the sense that it's our culture. But BBC will do documentaries on countries around the world because their audience is a British
Right, and
audience.
they take it on the news too.
They take
but
it on the
they
news.
take it on
but
the
they'll
news,
do-
which most
they'll
of the
do
documentaries on
documentaries,
the news.
right?
Yeah.
It's, for lack of better terms, it's
It's really a documentary,
Yeah, it's
but they have it on
documentary.
the news.
And then Vice, for example, they'll go around the world and they'll do documentaries
Right.
about different places around the world.
Right.
But they have an audience. They have a U.S.-based audience, right? And so the challenge being storytelling versus financing, right?
Mm.
And this is where we talked about earlier, where there's the creative brain versus the financial brain, right?
Okay.
Which usually it's coinciding is a very tough thing because they're always at odds with each other. They are, you know, and
Right.
it's an interesting thing. So the challenge that we have, that I have, is to be able to build an audience, right? And to be able to have a following of people that care about the information that I put out. There are companies and entities around the world that have that, right? They have it. And so the question being, if someone has the audience and if an entity has the ability to be able to share your story through, or a story through multiple channels, should they not be allowed to do it because they're not from Bermuda?
Oh, it should be. I think that, and that's the thing. I think that when you go into other spaces and places, you can, but the minute you go into those places that do have those treaties and do have those things, you cannot just go to New York.
Yeah.
You cannot just go to New York and shoot on the street
Yeah.
and set up. You just can't do it.
You can't set up a tripod.
You can't set up a tripod.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not unheard of what
Yeah.
we're talking about,
Not
and
at
to
all.
the degree that, and I think Bermuda's more sensitive to it because of the fragileness of the industry.
Yeah.
And looking at how can we grow it.
Yeah.
And I think it's only going to grow with those partnerships.
Yeah,
That
it will.
you might have a global. I mean, who's to say we do have global ideas? You guys did Off the Rocks. It became a
course.
global idea.
Yeah.
And how do we then get the assistance for that? And that's
Mhm.
what I think where this whole my piece of a treaty comes in. I think it
Yeah.
will give you and give our young people coming through access
Got you.
to talk to people that have money.
Yeah, I think that you have.
You know.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of studying that has to go into what we can do.
Yeah.
I think that Bermuda's Community and Cultural Affairs, they have a grant. A friend of mine had received a grant to do a production in the island about Bermudian culture or whatnot. I think there may be space to be able to increase the homegrown content and the homegrown, and to push out homegrown ideas. I don't know exactly how much that requires, or I don't know how much everyone's idea requires.
Right.
But there should be some form of, I guess, recourse for people that do have great ideas but may not have access. But I also think that that's the entrepreneurial challenge, right?
Wow.
So
It always is.
I think that I think that the entrepreneurial challenge is when you don't have the means to be able to find the means, right? And so, and means being money, right?
Right.
Or access. I think when you look to government and government type entities as like a first step, I think that there's this, I don't want to say shooting yourself in the foot, but the ingenuity would be in finding people abroad that could, or finding people with financing to be able to do things with your idea, and then connecting government in to be able to pull it all together. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this symbiotic relationship that has to occur.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I'm not one that's saying that there's not more that can be done. I'm just not the professor on what should be done.
I've got you on that. I've got you on that. Yeah, I mean, and you're coming through it with a different, according to what your niche is for being a production company.
Yeah.
As the service provider, as opposed to just being, the pure generator of content.
Exactly.
So that's the difference. And I was like a real generator of content.
Yeah.
So I see things a little bit.
It's like I said, it's the creative side versus the financial side, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the balance of the two is kind of somewhere the truth lies in the middle.
In the middle somewhere, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
On one hand, I've worked with some of the most talented individuals around the world, and they have come to Bermuda and they've seen things that I take for granted and made them look amazing and shown them to audiences, and people love it. And then, you know, I mean, that translates in some way, shape, or form to interest in Bermuda and all of that kind of stuff. And there'd be things that I take for granted. Like, if you would have told me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that Art Mel's would be like a tourism hub, right? Like where tourists go up to Art Mel's to get fish sandwiches or whatnot, or that Woodies would be like a place where tourists come to, like, when they come to Bermuda, they look for it, right? I would have said to you, I don't think so. I don't believe you. But what happens is that international person comes down and says, hey, look, these fish sandwiches are off the hook. I like these.
Right.
Let me write about it.
Right.
Right? And then they write about it. And then next thing you know, the audience is like, oh, I'm going to have a fish sandwich when I go to Bermuda because this person says that fish sandwiches are the thing when you go to Bermuda.
Right.
Right? And so there's this give and take with the international local connection. You know what I mean? And I see that there's a lot of opportunity for Bermudians to become influencers. But I think that there's also this cool thing about when people see it through a traveler's eyes, you know, or a visitor's eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take a small break. Maybe come and talk about some social media as we wind this interview up. We'll talk about how social media is for the millennial today and
Cool.
And Burnt House. Big tune by BLAC. This is another big one.
That's
right
black.
here.
Yeah, cool,
One time, it's hot on the chart right now. Trust me.
The one you wake up to, the one you make love to, but still can't believe that she is red. Then it is usually cause when you're deep in love, you can't believe you're perfect as a pet. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share. Give me the done, me plead that it is return. She like the bum to me melody and the vibe up here. Energy only high grade woman preferred. Every day I'm feeling so real, yeah. Organic, pure for sure. Spending time good and never fulfill, yeah. I need more. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the earth. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the earth. And no matter how cold it is outside, I'll wait in the water for her. And no matter how hot it's summertime, she cool with a temper, yeah. She not run from eat to the kitchen when a lion full up of hunger, yeah. She aware that a quality time spent is just something that money can never offer. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the earth. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the earth. She follow me from the day she want be with me for eternity. She say she want make love till she wind up in maternity. So much love to give physically and verbally. That is why we love when she say she want to work with me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a sucker for your love, girl. And your melanin so royal and so good. And so many may try, but we soon realize that they were born without the strength of you, girl. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the earth. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. Oh, so deep this love. I share the
them riots where it's fire. This time, the fire next time will be fire and a lot of bullets, Kay. And not everybody who looks like me is going to get dropped. Big step back, because here's the last thing, and I'm going. You mean tell me, ever since Coxel, succession plan, how many years done knowing that Mr. De Silva was going to retire at a certain time? You mean tell me all this time, all you top assistant commissioners and top management in police, and the Public Service Commission, and the government high management side.
Come on.
You know all them Barclayites.
Come on.
You didn't know it was coming?
Come on now.
That's why people from Work Academy can't stand them. Keep the end in view. You know why? Because what you taught black people was to keep your own end in view. Don't look back. Shut the gate. But this time, it's going to burn you. Hear me? Have a good day, man.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, that was fire. I can't. Oh, Lord. I could not. I'm glad I didn't say that. I didn't say it, Barclayites. I didn't say it. Don't shoot me. Honest. It's been hurting enough. Honest. I didn't say it. My comrades. I did. Listen. This is real. Okay? It's the demoralization. I have another note from somebody else right here. PLP have power but have been denied control. Gives them no incentive to local black people in police service. It is time for us to separate from Britain. I'm telling you, and this is, look, you all, that's another conversation. I'm gonna let you all sleep on this one till tomorrow, cause I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna switch up and do this nice thing with this guest this morning. It's a shame how things, you know me, I really like calling him and saying, look, Mike, let's not do this one, because, but you know, I could switch up. It's all right. It's just one piece of the pie, but it's a very important piece. So, but people, we really need, and I'm not talking about our elders. You know, they cannot handle this front line. It's the youth. They cannot deal with, the elders cannot be called back out of the retirement homes and everything else with walkers, canes and everything else, and the breathing apparatus and everything else and up on Parliament Hill. It can happen. Youth ladies, educated, you know, UK university students who are really talking about who's the real fed up group. The other group's been fed up. But the group that's really becoming fed up is the educated black male and female that are feeling disenfranchised and disenchanted in their country. This is who we're talking about. We're talking about, I tell you, it's going to come a time where the educated person who you don't think is going to become a rebel, you're going to turn them into a rebel. And there's a deafening silence after Michael Scott's speech. This is all a part of it. But no, I'm the bad guy. I was the outsider. I was told to sit and wait and shut up. Just wait my turn. Okay. Let's fix it. That's all I'm saying. And the police people, the police force, you guys, and the prime, don't let this guy's feet touch this soil, okay, without you showing your disapproval. Because once it's here, it's over. Okay, they'll call you in the British Army on you once it's over. You try anything after that. But nonetheless, let me go. Let me switch up right now. I'm gonna join my guest this morning, and take us into another beautiful space. But oh Lordy, it's so easy to stay in the darkness. But I'm glad that I have him. I'm glad that I have him come on, because it shows the it shows what Bermuda can be when we work together, and I was so happy to work with Jonathan, with Jonathan Jonathan Frith, back in my early days of fresh TV, and we used to have an amazing time. And he came back a ton years ago, when the fresh, we called it the Fresh Shack. It was where I first started, when my daddy gave me my little piece of shack, 12 by 12, to start Fresh Creations production. So let's join Jonathan. Jonathan's over in New York right now, and he's the son of Michael Frith, which is the guy who has worked on the Muppets, one of the big Muppets in Sesame Street. So let's see if we can get hold of him this morning.
and get in. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh, oh my! It must be dark there this morning. You're looking a little darker this morning. The sun's not up yet.
No. How early it is here? You're lucky I'm even awake.
You know that, right? You know that.
How you doing today? Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, and welcome to Fresh TV in the morning, crack of dawning, and here with our live audience. We are live, and
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So I'll let you say good morning to everybody. Say good morning. Say good.
Sort of alive, live, and sort of alive. Early morning. Hello, Bermuda. Hello, everybody else. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to see you, Elmore.
Oh boy!
As always.
You know, I was just telling them as we start this interview and why, you know, I'm reaching back. This is all for me like an Alan Criff reach back and this is your life and journeyman and all this sort of stuff about who's in Elmore's world and what makes Fresh TV, what makes Elmore, and it's people like you that were influential in my life in growing to become who I am today. As an honesty, you know, about who we are as Bermudians as a whole. I constantly want to share that with people, because at this time there's so much going on around us, Jonathan, which you would know, that keeps us so divided. But at the same time, we must speak the truth of why we're being seen so divided, and knowing there's a unity in it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people can't see that. I'm so blessed that I actually have it.
yeah, you've always had it, and that's the feeling is mutual in terms of inspiration and growth and everything, you know, and hanging out with you. I mean, we've known each other for what, almost 30 years now, right?
Mercy.
It's amazing when you think about it. It's weird. Time flies by like pow. So enjoy it, people. Make the most of it.
I'm telling you. Now let's jump right in because you come from one of the basically old families of Bermuda.
Two old families.
Right?
My mother's an Outerbridge and my father's a Frith.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we go back to, I guess you'd call it, you know, 1700s or something like that. You know, shipwrecked people looking for a better life, moving out to the middle of the ocean. You know, go figure, right?
Oh boy.
And then, of course, all the kind of cross-pollination that makes Bermuda so wonderful. You know, we're all related. And that's something that people forget sometimes.
Yeah. By hook or by the crook, we got related.
Exactly. For not so great reasons sometimes, and a lot of unfairness and disparity, obviously, and we're all just trying to figure out how to be better human beings. I hope.
Tell me something. Let's talk about that just for a sec. I mean, you know, coming up. You know, being a part of two old, you know, families in the settlement of this country. What did that? Coming up? What was that talk to you about? What was that like for you, or was it not a conversation you had when you saw those pictures on the walls on your halls? And what was that like for you?
Well, it's a tough question to answer because when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. You know what I mean? You just kind of live your life, and but then you start to become aware of the whole system and the perspective of your own perspective versus other people's, and you start to become hopefully enlightened as to what's going on economically, socially, and then you also just feeling from your heart. So for me. In my family, we were always considered a bit eccentric. You know, we're a lot of artists and musicians and stuff. It sort of happened like pow, like a chunk of people came in my generation and the generation before me. So we approached life from an artistic sense, a creative sense, and we had joy in singing and being with all different people. And but in terms of Bermuda's history and the world's history, you kind of have to learn it. You have to open your eyes and be honest and stare at it. You know, for us, I'll tell you one thing on the positive side is that I feel like I had the good fortune to know people who were from the past, who were from an older time. You know, we forget that Bermuda, there was still like horse and buggies in the 40s, you know, and not a lot of cars, and people were really sort of living off the land and connected to the land and the sea and sailing and all that sort of thing, and agriculture, and that changed very quickly. But when I was a kid, one of the great things that my Bermudian relatives did for me, because I was born in New York City to Bermudian parents, was when I would come home, I'd be steeped in the land, you know, in the banana patch. I know your family had banana patch. I remember your old place.
Yes,
there's
indeed.
there's something very deep and connecting when you're cultivating trees and you're reaping the fruit and gardens. And my grandfather would take me out there with the wheelbarrow and a machete, and we'd clean the trees and trim everything, get it all ship shape, and then with boats, you know, learning how to rig a little bit. I'm no great sailor, but at least I know a little bit. Being on the ocean, fishing, a real connection to nature, and that's really where we came from and what we were doing as young people. And then you have to face the fact that you know, Bermuda was a divided society ridiculously by color and circumstance, and the terrible history of slavery and everything, and you have to kind of come to grips with how that echoes even today. I deal with it here in the States, where I am once again living, and you're watching all this stuff happen, and now with the internet and everything, everything's more you're more aware, if you want to be, you're more aware of it. It's not that it's happening more, it's that you're seeing it more.
Yes.
It's documented more. It's always been happening. But so I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I think, well, I think it's just a matter of like you said. I mean, growing up, it does tell a serious side of the story, because like you're saying, growing up, children are not necessarily engaged in the level of what's going on in their social realm. In terms of, you know, they just are children who want to play, want to do, you know, you're not concerned with economics. You're not concerned with what the color of your skin is. Right. It's something that just there. And you're certainly not concerned with, you know, the old pictures a lot of times on the wall.
Exactly.
You know, you might know, oh, that's your great grandpapa. Okay.
You're right. Exactly.
Sort of thing. But I guess as growing up, did you ever find yourself having to deal with that, or did you not grow up in Bermuda long enough to have to deal with that?
Well, I dealt with it in the sense that I was interacting with all people. By the time I came along, I was born in 1970. You know, my Uncle Jerry had a farm in Bermuda, and we would hang out on the farm, and everybody was kind of, you know, a little bit dippy too, you know what I mean? So we were all interested in being together with people. It wasn't always easy, because you know, we're taught to not hang out together. We're taught to divide ourselves at a certain point, and that's the tragedy of it. Because when you're a kid, you don't think about division. You don't think about being different from somebody. You think about, oh, there's a kid, you know, jumping off the ferry roof. I want to do that too. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter what they look like or whatever. If you can get along with somebody, then that's great. But we saw it as inclusive. But definitely, I would look at my grandparents' generation and how, well, you know, it's a tough thing, because I don't remember a lot of division, so to speak, but then you start to see it, you know, like economically and what have you. And I remember you and I talking a long time ago, and you making me aware of some issues, like just in terms of economics, and like going to get a loan, for example, from the bank. You know what I mean? Trying to get a leg up, and it being much harder if your skin was brown. You know what I mean? And that's just an absurd concept, but it's a concept that happened, and it happened, and it still happens. But so I've had to grapple with that, if that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've had to look it in the eyes and look at the people in my world who just kind of shrug and go, oh well, I can't do anything about it. And you know, the best thing you can do, unless you're a big wheeler and dealer where you can economically make a difference, if you're just a middle class person or whatever, is just be inclusive and loving and open your eyes and your heart to everybody, because the world is richer that way. You know, we're better for being with each other and knowing different culture, different backgrounds. You know, Bermudians are different from West Indians. You know, different from Bahamians. Bermuda's a really unique culture. It's its own thing. You know.
Well, yeah, and you know, the sad part is that we sort of pick and choose when we're supposed to be unique or not. You know, it's like we're unique when it comes to sort of like, oh yeah, we're different from them in this way, but then as a worker we're different. Oh no, wait, no, we're like, there's no difference because we're like the rest of the world. And then so we have these weird sense of like when Bermuda is another world and when we're no different than anybody else. It's really weird in that.
Well,
in
you
that
see
regard.
in human nature in general, like when power, what's that quote? You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you are. If you start to get money and power, you're going to start to want more. You know what I mean? And that's the human nature side of it, and that makes Bermuda like everybody else. And it's
Right.
in a way, it's like the great equalizer of human beings.
True.
Unfortunately, right?
True.
We need consciousness. You know, we need consciousness.
When you came to the Fresh Shack, I you know, how did we make that link? Because you know, all of a sudden we're at the Fresh Shack playing around with dirty water in a flipping wheelbarrow, shooting some weird stuff.
Your dad was hanging out. We're like opening the shack. There's all this video equipment. It was like two different worlds. It was like The Lion and the Witch in the Wardrobe. You know, you open the door and technology. Yeah, that was great. I remember. I think you know, I'm trying to remember how we connected, but I know like I was in my early 20s and I just graduated from film school.
Right.
Film and video. So I think there weren't that many of us back then who were doing that.
Right.
Now there's a lot of people, right? You know, and it's a thing now that people take a little more seriously. But you and I and Pete were like, you know, the youngsters who were trying to do this crazy thing in Bermuda that, you know, nobody really did, which is kind of be independent filmmakers or video people, whatever, you know.
Right.
And I can't remember how we connected, but we chatted. And we just got on so well, and we were like, well, you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing, sort of. We all know what we're doing, sort of. Let's get together and be a little stronger. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad we did it.
Me too.
Now, I mean, since that time, I mean, we've worked on a couple of projects. You directed some Bermuda College stuff with us. You hung around, but at that time, you also shared Mishka with us because Mishka, you would go and spend some time, I think, in Antigua or one of those places, one of those islands, right?
Yeah, down in Nevis. That's
down
right.
in Nevis.
Down in Nevis. Yeah, we sailed down in Nevis from Bermuda. That was pretty exciting, and one of my favorite things I ever did was get on my uncle Mishka's father, and John and Jill, his mother. They raised those kids partially on a sailboat, a 42-foot sailboat. You know what I mean? And they just sailed all around the Caribbean and the West Indies and to Brazil and all sorts of things. And so I was lucky enough to be a part of that off and on. And it really opened my eyes, you know, being out on the ocean and everything. So, but Mishka, you know, he's a few years younger than me. So we all started picking up guitars and doing this crazy thing of writing songs and thinking we had something to say. And we for some reason we've always found joy in singing. And even as a larger family, we'd stand around in the kitchen, you know, doing the dishes after dinner and like 5-part harmonies. You know what I mean? That's just how we were. It was weird, but beautiful, very beautiful. And Mishka had such a gift, you know, for vocals and songwriting. And at that time, he was, you know, what was I, 23? He was probably 18 or something, and he started writing songs and what have you. And I'm actually going out on the road with him for 4 dates in next week. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. I'm opening for him.
Wicked.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
full circle, you know.
full circle. Yeah, you introduced me to Mishka back then, and you guys had made a video of some kind, right? Because that's you shared a video. I saw this.
Yeah, for my film. Speaking of film school, for my film school senior project, I had been down in Nevis and on winter break, and I shot a whole bunch of film on Super 8 and edited it together to this weird dreamlike long form music video. Remember how crazy that thing is?
That's right.
One of these days I got to get it transferred to digital. But you got to watch out what you wish for, because people look at it and they scratch their heads. They go, "That's weird, man." But I was very experimental at that point. I was really into abstract art and abstract painting and everything, and I was trying to incorporate that into film. And so Mishka's part. We really should drum that up. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna play one of his. I'm gonna play one of his tunes right now. Take a little break.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna play one of his tunes, and then when we come back, of course, you know, I know you got your axe with you, so we're gonna have some music from Jonathan and move on with the journey. So when we come back, I'm gonna find a nice little a nice Mishka to run. One of his early one. I know I have one.
Bermuda no want no more crime. Can't you see the gangster you send? Them are dead before them time. When we was a teenager, young in the gang, so me never know me danger. Used to sing me guns like send me a lower ranger. Oh, till me broke up on me savior. Life it get chaser, life rearrange. Hey, oh. Oh, you can try to take a next man's life, and you can't blow breath now. Oh, you can try to take a next man's life, and you can't blow breath now. That's no right, no, in the Almighty side. Oh no, that's no right, no, in the Almighty side. Oh no. So me say gangsta no push it no further. Gangsta me can't chat no further. Kill off your brothers and your sisters. No. Oh no. Bermuda no want no more murder. Bermuda no want no more crime. Bermuda no want no more murder. Bermuda no want no more crime. Can't you see my little babies? Them are dead before them time. Bermuda no want no more murder. Bermuda no want no more crime. Can't you see the gangster use them? Them are dead before them time. Oh. Holy pa mama abba. 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 Holy pa papa abba. We can't take it no more. 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 Bermuda, we want world apart.
Oh boy, it's a big tune. Yo, Septimus, a big tune. Trust me when I tell you that a big tune. Bermuda don't want no more murder. We don't want no more crime. And of course, I played that one as we go into redemption. And we have Janelle Darrell in the house, better known, aka Tubby.
Tub, T-U-B, yeah, just the basic Tub.
Tub, T-U-B.
T-U-B.
T-U-B. You know, welcome to Fresh, man.
Yes, thanks for having me, you know.
Yeah, hey, look, it's an honor.
it's an honor having you because so many people are we always say they're afraid to confront themselves.
Yes, yes.
A lot of the things, they say a lot of people are in denial.
Yeah.
About their life and what's going on in Bermuda, and you have come into your own enough to share your story. So that for me in itself, that's I'm honored that you're willing to share yourself with us this morning. So thank you. There's a writer's note here that you passed to me, and I'm gonna read this just to set the pace. The author's note says, starting from right now, this point on, no matter who you are, believe in yourself. Don't get caught up in what is going on around you. Look at your situation, your life, with a clear conscience. There is no rules to life. You choose your path. We all fall down, but we get back up. A saint is a sinner who fell down but got back up. And a winner is just a loser who didn't give up and tried one more time. So start from now. Make your story a great one. Control your mind. It's not too late. It's never too late. As long as you are breathing, you can do anything. Tub. Man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. Now that puts you at what we started at the back. Because that's number 3.
Yeah, that's number 3.
This number 3, right?
Yeah.
People, this is actually book number 3 right here, and I'm just gonna show you a little clip of it right now. But this is number 3, and of Redemption, the series, and we're gonna take you back about now, and let's get into one thing about life first, because the whole inspiration is, Tub. Like, well, Tub has inspired this whole Redemption. Tub has inspired 3 books.
Yeah.
But what makes Tub unique in this case? Let's go back to who Tub was that got him to this point.
Okay.
Let's talk about growing up as Tub.
All right.
Well, Janelle, who becomes Tub, right?
Janelle.
Yeah, let's talk
that's
about
what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Because you weren't always Tub. I mean,
yeah. Basically, I've been Tub from the beginning.
You've been Tub from the beginning. All right. So Tub and Janelle. Let's talk about who you were from the beginning.
Well, I mean, I just say, growing up, I was more, more of a rebel. You know what I mean? And I guess, getting in trouble made me wake up. You know what I mean? To say like, it's got to be more to life than this. You know what I mean? All this gangster stuff and all that. You know? It ain't really no finish line in that. No good finish line, I should say. You know what I mean? So I just said, I had to make a change.
School-wise, let's go back to you looking at who you were as a school student.
Okay.
What sort of child was Tub?
Yeah. I mean, I feel I was a good, I was a good student, you know what I mean? But, school, I guess they gotta keep the mind of the youth in there, you know what I mean? Keep us more, in tune with our status and our say, But, I guess, I was just rolling with it, I guess looking for a way in a sense,
Now, most times, when we are thinking about school, especially for the young male, we're looking at what type of influences were there, what were the male figures, who was the most significant influence in your life at that time? What was one of the shining points of school life for you, or highlights that you could remember that says, hey, you know what? This is cool, or that person's cool, or Do you remember anything significant that sort of stands out in your school life?
Like, you know, I mean, what age of school you mean, like young school?
Primary school. It could be primary school, high school.
No. Well, I mean, the only thing that really stands out, I guess, is the teachers that, you know, you could feel that really want to see you get ahead.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, you know, that you can feel it when the teachers really cares, and once you, like, let's say, stop being a rebel and, you know, focus a little more, because they see a little bit more than us, you know what I mean? Because we're young, they see the future in a sense for us. You know what I mean? And they see what we're tracking, so they try to, like, you know, intervene, you know? So I guess the teachers there was like, you know, what really, you know, that's stood out.
So basically, yeah. So teachers that actually, you felt that there were teachers that actually care.
Yeah, teachers that actually care.
And you felt the difference.
Yeah, you could feel the difference.
You could feel the difference.
You could feel the difference.
When you got into a little difficulty.
Yeah.
You know, getting into a little difficulty, and them sort of saying, hey.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you ain't gotta be, you know, you could focus. You know what I mean? They're telling you, like, you know, you ain't gotta be, let's say, follow the crowd or something.
Okay.
But we tend to just, you know, our pressure and different things. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now, you went to where? Victor Scott, Delwood?
No, I actually went to Prospect Primary.
Prospect.
Yeah, I'm Prospect.
Prospect Primary.
Yeah.
In that group of people, in your class, I remember going down to Victor Scott, which would be Central at my time, but then going to Victor Scott. And one of the things that was telling was when people were going through school pictures, they looked at who's murdered, who's dead, who's up for murder, who's very interesting.
Yeah.
I never, you know, I didn't experience that, but there, and they said that was a good youth.
Yeah.
That was a good youth.
Yeah.
He was a little trouble, but he was good. You know, when you look at your school pictures, do you get the same sense of who your peers were and what they became, and you know, now and looking back, do you get that?
Yeah, some guys that I was actually in primary school with, you know, birthday is the same day as mine, you know what I mean? Up to today, they're gone, you know what I mean? Due to the gang violence and stuff, you know what I mean? So that stands out in a factor, because I'm saying, like, you know, we was, you know, just growing up, and now years later, you know, from choices were made, now he ain't even around, you know what I mean?
I mean, how does that play into your thinking? I mean, in terms of paths to sort of say, hey, wow, like when I look at my class, did I see that coming?
Yeah, it surprises you when you look and you see, like, all your peers that's going and stuff, you know what I mean? And we ain't getting that old, you know what I mean? So to see it, it's like shocking. You're saying, like, we all expect to live, you know, till we can't move no more, but the reality is that, you know, if we don't make the right choices, you know what I mean? It could easily be no tomorrow, you know what I mean?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Now, one of the things that this first book, which is Redemption, starts to talk about, and well, basically talks about your actually growing up, your mom, the type of upbringing you had.
Yes.
Let's give a little sketch about that, because so much is said about single parents, so much is said about, you know, having to have two parents around, that kind of relationship and interaction and responsibility. What was your relationship like with your parents, and how you interacted with them?
Okay, you know, coming up, you know, at the beginning, you know, me and my mama have always been tight, you know what I mean? She's always been my sweetheart, you know what I mean? But I guess as I start to get older, you know, then I guess, you know, I mean, me and my daddy, well, we was cool too. We was tight somewhat, you know, but that's why I look at even now, I feel that the parents, we need to communicate with our children, you know what I mean? Having that open little communication will mean a lot, because then you can see what's in their mind, see what they're going through, you know what I mean? Like basic conversation, you know, means a lot, because you can see where your child's mind's at, you feel me? You want to know what, like, you know, you want to know how they think, you know what I mean? You know?
So you always were able to talk with your mom? You talked about anything with your mom and your dad?
Well, nah, you know, like pretty much there's just there, you know what I mean? My mama, she is cool, we is tight, you know, I love her to death, you know what I mean? But, you know, I was pretty much, I felt like it was just me and my sister were more, you know, together, like chilling in a sense, because I've got two sisters, but me and my older sister. But I mean, as far as like somebody to talk to coming up, I don't really feel I had that, you know what I mean? I don't feel like I had, you know, somebody, if something was bothering me, I could go to him and say, look, you know, like, this is what's up, what do I do? You know, where you had that feeling where you could connect with somebody. I don't think I had that, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But yes, there's there. That's why I say, you know, for the parents, if they make that little connection where the children could talk to them, then maybe it'll make their job a little easier, you know what I mean?
Boy. So, okay, so in terms of, so while you and your mom were close.
We wasn't
You
that
weren't-
close to where I could say, oh, well, look, mama, this what happened today, what do I do? You know what I mean? We
Okay.
wasn't that close. It was just like, you know, I love you to death. You know, I'm growing up. When I was younger, I'd chase her around. And then when I got to a certain age, it was just do my thing, you know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about that. You mentioned your mom. What about dad?
Dad? Yeah, you know, he is cool. You know, he is around a bit. Him and my mom got married when I was young and stuff. You know what I mean? You know, they had a happy little marriage for a little while, I guess. You know what I mean? But I guess, like I said, I never felt that father figure from him in a sense. You know, I knew he was my daddy and all. You know what I mean? We was cool, but like it wasn't like, you know. I would say like not like a mentor in a sense, you know what I mean? It wasn't like somebody could say, yeah, let me go talk to him, like, you know, this how I'm feeling or this what I'm going through, you know what I mean? I guess when my mom was there, you know, there's there, and then once, you know, they, you know, part of it, you know, I guess the children just gotta roll with it, you know what I mean?
Now, a lot of times, especially stereotypically, we have believed that the father role usually has been one that, especially when we're looking at an era of black males, we believe that the absence of the father, or the father being a street type of father, a hustle type of father, has made was one of the biggest influences of why there is trouble in the camp.
Yeah.
Do you feel that in retrospect, or?
Well, I mean, in a sense that is true, because, you know, let's say if the father's a hustle type father, or, you know, he basically ain't like treading on the right side of the fence. There's always a chance that trouble could find him, you know what I mean? So, you know, I feel if you're in that lifestyle, you can't be as hands-on as you should be, because you got too much other stuff to worry about, you know what I mean?
When, now that you've grown through this, you don't have necessarily I don't know who has the most ideal family life. A lot of people, you know, we talk about it, but in marriage homes, it could be just as upheaval. Even more so, because you got two different approaches, you got two different people, you could create more confusion than anything. Even in, right? Because not everybody's always on the same page. But when you look at your family life now, how do you frame your family life and surroundings? How do you frame it? Was it, you know, did it seem like, hey, it's functional, it's normal enough? Did you notice any idiosyncrasies in it, things that you felt were wrong, that could have been different, and that you want to avoid?
You mean like in the whole family household type thing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody will want, you know, parents grow old together and all that, you know what I mean? But as far as affecting me, you know what I mean? But I mean, as a kid, I guess I was just getting through the emotions, you know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, starting for our kids from young, we should try to put girls in their minds from young. So then as they grow thinking girl-minded, you know what I mean? Sometimes we just want to let our kids play, and then they get to a certain age, and then, you know, it ain't no real, you know, purpose. But to go back on the question, you were saying, well, I can't really call that one.
You can't really call that one. you talk about how you had to chase your mom around. Because you were tight, but you weren't that tight. You were on her hip, but you weren't on her hip.
Yeah.
You mentioned a piece about basically, look, if I were with my mom, I'm going to hang out there until she comes. Tell us a bit about that, having to basically try to be up under your mother.
Okay. Yeah, at the beginning now, she is all I wanted. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be around nobody else but her. You know what I mean? And I guess, like I said, as a single mother, I guess after her and my dad split up, you know what I mean? She had to be the bread bearer. You feel me? So I guess that left more learn time with me and my sister. You know what I mean? My older sister.
Okay.
But so me, I didn't want that. I wanted to be with my mama. You know what I mean? So if she had to go work, then I would go. And if she's working at a bar, I'm gonna go outside and wait outside the bar until she comes out. You know what I mean? And then get people to call every so often to let her know I'm her waiting for until she gets there. You know what I mean?
Mercy. No matter how late at night that would be?
No matter how late, you know what I mean? She could should take me home and say, oh, stay here with the babysitter and stuff. And I would still leave and go right back and say, Lo, I'm waiting her for you, you know? I want to be with you, you know what I mean?
Mercy. And that was, and in some weird way, that was the closeness.
Yeah.
That and the longing that we could say you had for.
Yeah.
To like be with her.
Yeah, probably looking for that love from her, I guess. I don't know, you know what I mean?
So as we journey on now, how do you now get into trouble? Like, where does trouble start to find? Let's talk about the not having what you need at home in the fullness. When did you decide to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start doing things the way how I want to do them.
Well, I guess even from that little factor, of, I guess, chasing her around, let's say if she worked on a bar on Court Street and then I'm going to go and wait outside till she comes out, and then you basically see what's happening on the streets, you know what I mean? So then that's when my mind got pulled in to what actually goes on, you know what I mean? Like you're seeing people fighting, you're seeing people riding bikes, you're seeing people selling drugs. So I guess it goes from sitting there waiting for to saying, no, well, let me go sit across the street. I'm starting to get bigger now, you know what I mean? They ain't bothering me for being out the street no more.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because at first it's like, oh, Kia, go ahead. You shouldn't be out on the street because I was real young.
Okay.
So then I guess as I start to grow, they already recognize me. They already remember me. Now I'm becoming a man, so it's
okay.
More,
what sort of age is that?
I think it had to be like 13.
Wow,
like
I was
young age, like
13.
Like at least 13, probably even before that. You know what I mean? But
probably
I was
before
young.
that.
Yeah.
Is and I'm going to ask this question: is it? You did talk about a segue of sort of kind of seeing you used to being on the street, but is it an easy segue for a young man to just fall into, quote unquote, a street way of life in terms of hustling drugs? And being a part of that world, is it a simple thing to do to just can you just roll into it and say, hey, I want to sell drugs, or hey, is it?
Well, I think basically coming from like town areas and stuff, I don't really think it's that hard to step into it, you know what I mean? Like if you wanted to try, or I mean, it's not for everybody, but if anybody had some, like, not in, but there's a lot of dangers to it. But yes, I don't think it's really too hard to
well, 13 years old.
Yeah.
At 13 years old, you're telling me you started then being in the street. Is that using, or is it
no,
or was it using drugs or marijuana? Or no?
No, at that age, you know what I mean? Like I was saying, I was just wanting to be around my mama. That's how it would start. So I just go to the, go sit outside the bar and stuff. And then I guess I start just hanging out the street. And it wasn't even no alcohol or no smoking and none of that at this time. I guess it was just the hanging out and just knowing that there's always something happening. It's just like entertainment, you know what I mean? So that's where it started, just being there, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then later, that's when I guess you start to indulge. You know what I mean? But at the young age, I just like to hang out there and, you feel me?
And just get in.
Yeah.
So now you're hanging in the street, right? you're starting to make a new set of friends. Were these friends from school? Were these friends, or were these just a new set of friends?
Well, no, it's basically people you grew up with, people you
Okay.
see from the neighborhood, you know what I mean? And they end up seeing you there for a minute after years, you know, you've been sitting there, they know who your mommy is, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then once you become of age and then they see, you know, that, you know, you're starting to hang around, I guess, you know, then you just fall into play. You know what I'm saying?
What? You're an intelligent young man. I know that already. And what was the switch that said, you know what? I want to get into the dark side of life. What was the switch in her? I mean, you had plenty of good cocktail.
Yeah.
Right?
I had plenty of licks, yes.
You had plenty of licks.
Yeah.
For various reasons, I'm sure.
Yes.
At what age did you make that switch and get into that part of life? And what was the determining factor?
Well, I guess just being in the environment, I guess from young you could see, I guess weak and strong people in a sense in the street, because it's like a dog eat dog world, you know what I mean? So if you're on the streets and if you ain't on point, you get robbed, and you could see all this stuff. So you gotta be on point. So I guess you make a decision. Am I gonna be her and or am I gonna be in her and be in control? You know what I mean? It's just like a decision you make like that. And I mean it's easy to play bad, you know what I mean? But some people are acting, but it's like, I guess when you make a decision saying, well, I'm gonna be all I could be in a sense, so just,
But was there, what was the push that wanted you to get there? Like, was it just money? Was it, the glamour? Was it the glitz? What was the big motivation for you to do? Because like I said, you're not a bad school child.
Yeah.
You definitely had scholastics on. You could read, you could write. But was it just money that said, hey, you know what? I want to make money. I'm gonna sell.
I can't even really call it really. You know what I mean? I can't even really call it. I think I just guess from being in the environment. You know what I mean?
Just the environment.
Just the environment.
That was sort of normal.
Just being in the environment, it just becomes normal. You're saying, well, look, I see the money coming. It's like free money. I'm already her. I'm saying, like, I might as well get in a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well,
thing, Plus, you see all the lavish lifestyles and stuff, and the cars and stuff. You're saying, well, I'm getting of age, and I want nice stuff too. You know what I mean?
Boy. Well, in her, one of the things that came up early in this is when you got sold some fanny some fanny drugs. You hear about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But how does one deal with something like that? Because the street, once again, I mean, you came up and you're more or less like you're like a Niners person, right?
Yeah.
You're like a Niners person. So the whole absolute what they call gang violence and gun violence wasn't as prevalent there.
Yeah.
There were some things going on where guys were taking a lick or two.
Yeah.
Right? So there was some machete violence going on, maybe some knife violence.
Yeah.
But when somebody rips you off on the street, that can be an easy thing to take. And I'm looking at the, in the book, you talk about getting ripped off with some max.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How did you talk about that situation and how you managed it? I'm just starting to give people a little glimpse into this book because I don't want to give it all away for them.
All right. But I guess one thing was good because I learned that like you said, it wasn't like, let's say, a friendly place, because you're about to start and you see that is a bunch of robbers out here. You feel me? So I guess it was a good wake up call from the beginning. But I mean, at that young age, you pretty much have to roll with it. You know what I mean? Because I remember I'm one of these small ones. So, you know, I guess I was getting schooled, you know. You know.
But it turned out being, well, it looked like it was a friend of yours at the same time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that didn't make it no easier.
No, a girlfriend too. So it was just like somebody I was around like every day too. So it was like, you know, hanging there. So I'm like, yeah, I guess it makes you think. Say, you know, I guess that was God trying to say, look, what you doing? You know what I mean? Trying to give me my wake up call early before, you know, I got all into the mess. You feel me? But, you know, I felt I was going to stick it through. I was going to make it. You know what I mean?
But you also said at that time that all of a sudden it turned into, instead of like God showing you like, hey, get out, you're sort of saying, well, you just can't trust anybody.
Yeah, I just can't trust nobody. So maybe I took it in the wrong light, see? I took it like to say, yeah, well, I see what's happening. I'm going to have to try to be smarter, see? Because I think as youth, we always think we could be smarter. You know what I mean? Growing up, you know, we young men think we're real smart. You know what I mean? That's what gets us in trouble, too. Because we think we're smarter than the system, you feel me?
Okay.
You know what I mean? But, you know, we have learned the hard way that, you know, it's bigger than we think, you know what I mean? You know? So I think, you know, growing up thinking you're smart, you're thinking, okay, yeah, well, I'll do it a different way, you know? And then, you know, it's no real win. There's no win in that.
Now, in this book, you actually call names.
Yeah.
Some people, the people so far that I've seen you call have passed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have passed on.
Yeah.
When looking at that and dealing with starting to deal with the death of some of the people from the street. Did that ever really bring about a turning point view for you, or it's just like, hey, it's not me?
Yeah, actually growing up now, because, you know, we feel that, you know, we used to think ahead. Actually growing up, I didn't really look too much down the line, because, you know, how people die, you're like, well, I might die tomorrow. And this was before you even know the shooting. That's how I used to think, you know what I mean? So you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, you're pretty much rolling with it and enjoying it. You know what I mean?
So death is not something... It's not something that you have on your plate, even though it's in front of you. Death is not something that you harp on, or you were harping on, or thought a lot about. That's what you're saying.
No, it's that I thought that you never know when it was going to come. So you're thinking like, well, the way, you know, life seems to go, you might not be here next week or next year. So it's like, well, let me live it up now, you know what I mean, type thing, you know? So we ain't thinking saying about 2 years down the line what I'm going to do. We're saying, well, I might not even see 2 years, so I'm living it up today, you know what I mean? Tomorrow type thing.
Okay, so it's sort of like that, live for now.
Live for now type
live for
thing.
now.
Yeah,
don't think too much about tomorrow.
Don't think too much about tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, you go through this. You're going through this life, and you're on the street. You're living high and mighty. Some would say, right? You're rolling. You got your girl going on. You got your bling.
Yeah, I'm starting to get somewhere a little bit. You know?
You're stunning.
Yeah. I know.
And then you have a situation that you find yourself in. It's a violent situation.
Okay.
Let's talk about the major turning point. And I don't know. Was it the first time in prison?
Yes.
That was your first time.
First time in prison. Yeah.
In prison.
Yes.
So let's talk about that event right there, and what that meant to this, starting to lead to this book right here.
Okay. Well, because I mean, like, you know, I feel, you know, even though I was on the street, I was a good youth. You know what I mean? I still, after coming out of high school, I was still working. I had a job and stuff.
Okay.
But on the off time, I was still in the streets and partying. You feel me? Which was making my, let's say, my job and stuff, everything, let's say, slide. You know what I mean? But you know, so now. So I went from there, basically getting work, you know what I mean, like how all we guys did. We want to party and then go work, you know, you feel me?
Yeah.
So I guess I was dealing with that for a minute, And then one day out of the blue, my life just changed, you know what I mean? From me, you know, feeling the world was mine and I could do whatever I want, because that's how I lived. You feel me? Nobody couldn't tell me nothing, you feel me? Nobody couldn't step to me or talk no stupidness, you feel me? Because, you know, I was already hardened by these streets, you feel me? I was tough. It's either you're tough or you're not, you know what I mean? And, you know, I felt out the toughest. Nobody couldn't touch me, you feel me? So now, with that mentality of thinking, you feel me? You know, you see it in the story, but the incident came up, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then just like that, like you said, I was in prison from a day to day, from getting work one day, knocking off from work, and then getting in the incident, and then from there, hospital, and then jail.
And from hospital to jail.
jail. No, just by the snap of your fingers, my whole life changed, just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Mercy.
And I was 21.
21.
Yeah, I'm getting my 22nd year, just like that.
21.
Snap of fingers.
Jacobs. Now, how many years was that spent in prison?
Well, I actually done 5 altogether.
Okay.
5, I don't know, 5 straight, yeah.
Was the sentence 5?
No. Don't gonna have to get into the book to get all the details. You know what I mean? We ain't giving them no details or whatever, you know. But you know what I mean? You know?
And that's what I'm trying to craft my way around.